All right, we're back. We're at the Monaca Brewing Company. Welcome to episode 4 of PA Today Sports Talk. I'm your host, Jon Magusiak. As you can see, to my left, on your right, we got Byron Dovales. He's been one of my hosts before. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. Can't complain, man.
He's a strength coach. He's a former football coach, and he's a former All-American at the Division II level. You want to just go ahead and tell people about your resume? Just run it down before we get going.
I had the opportunity to coach at Pine-Richland for a year, 8th grade. From then I went to Central Catholic, was there for about 5 years, 6 years. A great little tenure there. Now I'm just working with 210 speed and agility and train on my own as well. I work with various athletes throughout the WPIAL. Just have the opportunity to watch them, and I'm blessed to have that opportunity.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can't thank you enough for being here with me today, Byron.
Always a pleasure.
Absolutely, my brother. So let's get right into it. Before we talk about some games, I always do the rushing attack. I always give guys the credit that are 180 and above, so I'm going to do that at this time. How about Armand Hill from West Mifflin? We call him Mondo. That's why I messed up a little bit there. 313 yards, 5 touchdowns. Can you just elaborate what a performance like that is from a freshman?
One, I think that's a big deal from a freshman, but I think one thing that goes unnoticed is that West Mifflin offensive line is a real deal.
That's why you're here today.
From Rico Steele to Juice. They got my man, sorry, I can't remember his name right now, Braden Walker.
Braden Walker, yes.
Well.
Yep.
He can also run routes really well. So, I mean, the front guys up there do a lot for that West Mifflin team. And I think it's just great to have a freshman back there who can run the ball like that. But he's comfortable because he has big guys to protect him really well.
Yeah. Bricks Roll was at 227 yards. Beaver Falls, he always seems to be a guy for them. Josh Bladel, man, out of Moon. I was out there this past week. Every time I go to a Moon game, he's not the biggest kid, but he just doesn't go down, and we talked about it. He's one of those kids that's always falling forward. So Keith Spell and McKee Sport, 201 yards. 203 yards for a guy, Tyler Welsh at Freedom. He's a guy I want to, give a shout out at this time because he's put in the work, and he's put in a lot of work to get to this point, and that's a big week, and he's been doing it consistently. Matt Sieg, we all know about what he did, against Bishop Canevin. 198 yards is like an average night at the office for him, You want to speak on a kid like that? I mean, the offers are coming in now, and why do you think it took, just a couple games for them to pull the trigger?
I think it's just one of those things where, he's still a young kid. It's really special what he's doing right now.
Yeah.
I think that you see that, on the outside looking in, on the inside they know that. They've seen that for a while, I'm sure. It's just spectacular what that kid is doing, though. But that's what's fun about WPIAL football, to have a quarterback who can run, who can throw,
He do it all.
big things. And it's exciting because we know we'll get to see him for the next couple of years, too. So that always makes it good to see the young guys ball.
Absolutely. And we're going to move along here to the passing leaders. So we have Jaivin Peel. He's going to join the show. So they reported 423 yards, but Western Beaver, I read, they don't report inaccurate stats. So they came back. They said he only had 395 yards. What a heck of a game. He only needed 5 yards to break the freshman, single season passing record. He threw for 395. Can you speak on a young man? I know he's coming in here, and we're going to talk to him, but I want to hear from you before he comes in here. He's a true freshman at Western Beaver. It's a 2A school, it's not 1A. They're playing good competition. He's putting up stats like this. You want to speak on what that's like from a freshman quarterback?
I think we have to remember, that's still a 14-year-old kid in a sense. Still has a lot to learn. I'm sure he's been a part of the program. Again, from the inside, that the kid's potential, and I'm sure they've seen that in Western Beaver for a while. And again, it's an exciting time for Western Beaver because they know they have him for another 3 years. And every game from here on out, he's just going to continue to grow and only get better. So this really is, we're still in the first half of the first quarter with this kid. So, it'll be exciting for the next 3 years to see what he does in that place.
I agree with you. Brad Birch, if this is right, 414 yards, man. So since he's been back, you want to speak about Gateway and how they've been rolling? We had Don Hall on the show last week. You want to speak on them a little bit?
Yeah, I think any team all over anywhere and every level, if you take away your starting quarterback, you're a very different team. You bring back your starting quarterback, especially when your quarterback is one of the best in the league. I think that does big things for your team. It does big things for your morale, the confidence of the team, the confidence of the coaches. It's one of those things where the quarterback position, it changes everything about your environment. And not having Brad Birch to having him back now is big for Gateway. I think they're back in the hunt now to see who wins for 5A, and they're really competitive right now, playing really good ball.
They're playing really good ball. And Tanner Pfeiffer for Bethel Park, he had a rough first half against Moon, but that second half, him and Ryan Petras, he only had 56 yards, but Ryan Petras was doing a little bit of everything, running around. They lost, but they were down 28 at halftime. Final score was 42-34. So they came back, and Tanner Pfeiffer was lighting it up. He had a total of 285 yards. Peyton Wayner, Central Catholic, 282 yards. That's an average night at the office for a guy like him. You were over at that program. Can you speak on his progression over the years?
It's been really cool to see Peyton grow up because he's another kid where when he was young, you can kind of see it. You know what I mean? And I think that Coach Lehmeyer has done a really good job just growing him and grooming him into what he is today.
I agree.
He's a very athletic kid. We know he can run. We see him throw. He has the weapons for it. And just to be able to command a team like that, I think says a lot about the young kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm very excited for Peyton. I think we all kind of seen it coming. The people who've been in-house.
Yeah,
anyway.
You were in there. You seen it. You were telling me all summer, and I didn't say nothing.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's been really cool to see. I'm very excited for Peyton, very excited for that Central football team, and for him to be the leader of that place, man. He's doing awesome.
So I talked to him after the North Allegheny game, and what you said, leadership, that's what he said. He feels like he became more of a leader on this team this year, and you could see it. He's in full command of that offense. Have you seen a guy like Nolan DeLucia at all at Peters Township and what he's doing, having them off to an 8-0 record? He's a sophomore in that class of 2026 class. He had 261 yards. Peters Township, I'd love to see them play Central right now. I think that, you know what, let's have some fun. Peters Township versus Central. What would that look like?
I'm thinking that looks like, and I'm biased.
I know you're biased, but
it looks like 35-14. I'm going to be honest. I think that Central football team is one of the better ones we've seen in a while. Me personally, I'm looking forward to that game with them in St. Joe's Prep.
You're already looking down the line,
honestly,
man.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, when you see what they're doing week in, week out, and I think what was really cool about Central this week is we got to see a lot of younger guys and more guys play. I mean, that's a roster of 120 kids, and they're starting to use more kids, especially when you talk about playoff football. And you don't have to. They're not a team where you have to have a kid play 100+ snaps. I mean, these guys are playing 40, 50 snaps, the snaps they need. Yeah, absolutely. And they have guys, and they have second-string guys who play really good ball. I mean, I would be curious to see what the statistics are for their second-stringers against the first teams and the team they play with. You know what I mean? There's a lot of games where they're not playing a full game. But again, when you're talking about going on a state championship run, that's
what you got to do.
So I mean, I know the way that program is, and they're working just one game at a time. But me personally, I'm just looking forward to that game. That's the next one for Central Catholic. I'm definitely gonna have my eye on.
So before we move on to the receiving leaders, we're gonna get into it with Coach when he joins the show. But what was it about Pine-Richland that was able to defeat those Vikings?
Again, I said it at the beginning of the year, and I know there were some people who had some issues with what I said. I think their Achilles heel is in the trenches and the defensive line.
Stopping the run.
For sure, stopping the run. They just have some young guys in there, and again, I say that because every other position is full of Division I.
Power five. Yeah, that's what I was going to say,
And I think that Coach LeDonne just had a really good game plan against them. And those guys played a flawless night. Like, you have to play a flawless night against that team. They ran the ball really well. 200+ yards out of one kid.
Ethan Pillar had 300 yards, 50+ carries, had a game.
And their offensive line is no joke. Ryan Corey up there leading the herd.
No joke.
And again, I think that's what makes it exciting though. Is high school football, and you have to find those small weaknesses. And I hate to say it because, but if you have to pick one, I think that's one.
Okay. I wanted to ask you about that. So we're going to move on to the receiving leaders. We were talking about Gateway. This is a guy that's a first-year Gator, Steven Jenkins. What he has done up to this point, have you seen anything about what he's been doing? He's been on offensive side of the ball, balling out. Had 197 yards on 12 grabs. And then he's on the defensive side. He's committed to Bowling Green. He's doing his thing over there. You saw him this summer a little bit. You want to speak on Steve?
I'm not surprised by anything I've seen from Steven, and that's just from a training standpoint. He's a kid who comes in every day, ready to work, working hard. He's very consistent. So I think this is, it's one of those things where it's really cool in my position because I get to see the kids more in the offseason than I do in season anymore. So kind of when you see the work that they've put in kind of come to fruition,
and the payoff.
You kind of see the payoff for them. You kind of see, he understands the formula really well and what it takes to be a successful high school football player in the WPIAL, and he's kind of just putting it in play right now.
Yeah. And Andrew Kuborn from Avonworth, he had 119 yards on 12 grabs. We talked about him last week, but you got to keep talking about guys if they're going to keep producing. So I'll keep talking about him. Cody Patterson, another guy from Freedom. He continues to produce, 156 yards. Luke Denny from Norwin, 234 yards receiving. That's no joke.
Yeah.
Anthony Mickens from Connellsville, 153 yards. And then Kenny Lewis from Gateway. He's another one doing it on both sides of the ball. He had 9 grabs, 169 yards. I mean, I just think he's one of the top players in that 2025 class when it comes to defensive back. I see some more offers coming for him. Have you seen his game at all this summer?
It's the same thing with Jenkins. I've had the pleasure
of seeing him
run around.
Okay,
yeah, I've had
great.
the pleasure of seeing him run around, seeing him work hard. I got to bark at him a little bit in my drills and stuff like that. And again, I just think for me, some players that we see balling, I'm really not surprised by.
Yeah, you've seen
how they work. Yeah. And then the younger guys coming up when they do. I mean, there's a handful of names that I could just throw out there that I know that maybe it's just not their time yet. Maybe next year we'll see them. Maybe we'll see them in the playoffs.
That's a great point.
I think the offseason is a big tell on how these guys play. It's no surprise that the guys who come to workouts and train the way they do are
the
doing
ones
well
exploding
in
on the scene right now.
So I mean, it's awesome to see it work though. I'm very blessed to be in that position.
Yeah. So we're going to go over the big games. We're not going to run down all of the WPIAL. I want to go over the close games, the ones that we were anticipating. Beaver and Seton LaSalle was a big game, a lot of playoff implications. Seton LaSalle looked hot at the beginning of the year. They beat Steel Valley, but Beaver overcomes Seton LaSalle 38-20. What do you think Seton LaSalle still needs? Because they're young. What do you think they need to do to get over that next hump?
I think they need games like this. It sounds crazy to me.
No, it doesn't sound crazy.
They have a very young team. I think there's a program that's still growing, and they show that they can win some big games.
Yes.
And as a player, you hate to hear it, but sometimes they need those losses to kind of humble them a little bit.
Okay.
I think they're definitely on top of the world, but I think they're also willing to work.
Yeah, they are willing to work.
So I mean, some games are going to get away from them. I think more in high school football than any other level of football, that senior leadership is a big deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you have a senior-led team and you have some really talented sophomores, freshmen playing, sometimes that can get over on them, no matter how much talent they are. You have guys who've been there before and know how to come back from games and kind of know how to handle the game. So, I mean, I think that's kind of where Seton LaSalle is.
Yeah, they have those seniors that have been there in O'Malley Daly, Eric White, but then you mix in the Khalil Taylors and Nelson Coleman's, Wilmore. It is going to take a little bit of time, but I think that they're doing better than a lot of people thought they were going to do this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Under Tim Storino, he's done a great job no matter what anyone says, with the 2 losses. From what they were last year, 0-10, where they are now, that's a positive in my opinion.
Yeah, and from seeing them in the 7-on-7 league, I mean, to see them grow
oh my goodness,
week to week,
they grew so much.
From week 0, 7-on-7
Mikey Pastrick now a quarterback too, yeah.
From week 0, 7-on-7 to week 8 to 7-on-7, we've seen huge growth in that team. They've added big pieces coming into the season, so again, no surprise that they are where they're at. Still just a young team.
Young
I think
team
over the
growing.
time, we're going to see that program grow. I think Storino's doing a hell of a job over there.
I love it. So this one's on you. I'm just going to say it. Central Catholic over Penn Hills, 45-12. Go ahead and elaborate.
Yeah, I mean, Central Catholic, just coming off a tough loss. I think Elijah Faulkner said it this week. He just had that nasty taste in his mouth of the loss. And I just said it about Seton LaSalle. I'm going to say it about Central Catholic. This may be the loss that they needed to kind of push them through, humble the players a little bit. I know we've all been writing well about them. Just take it game by game. I think, not to take anything away from Pine-Richland, I think they had a hell of a game plan last week, running the ball the way that they did. And I think they what's cool is you see Central make some changes. I mean, you see Colson Gatton now playing tight end, which I thought was exciting.
Yeah.
You see Ashton Black get on the field a little more.
Yeah.
He's going to be a prime.
They're using those guys now.
Yeah, so starting to use. I seen you see Daniel Specker getting on the field offensively.
Yeah.
Starting to use him, deep threat he can be. Peyton Winters just getting more comfortable. Elijah Faulkner had a heck of a game. Seen a couple changes on the defensive line. So, I mean, Central's going to make the changes that they need. And I think it was kind of just, sometimes you need that little kick in the butt to kind of push you over the hump. And I think by the end
might have been good for him.
Yeah, I think by the end of the season, I think the players will also agree with something that they needed.
Okay, so Singaway's my baby. He knows this. Clareton and Rochester was one I had a close eye on. I knew it was going to be a physical game. Both those teams, it's just grimy every time they play. Clareton overcomes Rochester, and this is a big win for their program. They're a young program. They're a grown program under Coach Wade. 18-15, they take down Rochester. That's a statement win in my opinion, because Rochester, they've been good forever under Gene Matsuk. So I think Clareton finally, I think that might have put them over the bump. Yeah. I see them as a serious 1A contender. What do you think?
Absolutely. again, just from what I got to witness of the 7-on-7 league.
See, we get them live.
We get them live early. They're one of those really gritty team, and those kids just want to play as much football as they can. They're a team that I've seen one week. We had a couple cancellations, and most teams play 2 to 3 games.
They play 5 games, man.
And they wanted more. I mean, they'll play with no street lights on in the middle of the street, wherever it is. So, I mean,
they just
tough, gritty kids. They got some big balls out there. I mean, I love the way 6'5" is playing or plays. I mean, he's a heck of an athlete.
Zamir
Coach Wade does a heck of a job with those kids over there.
Coach Wade is one of the best over there. So this is another one in AAA I had my eye on. East Allegheny, they take down Deer Lake 17-13. I thought that was a statement win for East Allegheny. We're going to talk about them a little bit later in the power rankings, so I'm going to keep it moving. Fort Cherry, they're number 1 in the power rankings. They're going to stay there because they beat Cornell 42-13, and that's convincing fashion. I know we spoke a little bit on Matt Sig a little bit, but can you speak on what it's like to have a player like that at the 1A level?
I think it's a big deal. It's a big deal, again, because it's an attendance thing. And when one of your players on a, I'm going to guess 20, 30-man team is one of the best players in the WPIAL, it's going to be a big deal. You know what I mean? I think when you get to the higher rankings as 4A, 5A, 6A, he kind of blends in a little better. But, you have one of the best players at any classification in the WPIAL.
My opinion, I think, of course, I don't think he has 500 yards a game, but I still think he produces in 5A, 6A. I don't think it matters with Matt Sig. I know a lot of guys, but him, I think he produces an A level. Absolutely. That's just my opinion. So let's go in and move down. GCC, Greensburg Central Catholic over a Jeanette team that only had 1 loss previously. 42-24, that's a big win for them because Greensburg Central Catholic, they had some tough losses early. Mars over Armstrong, 38-0.
No surprise.
Next week we have Coach Kasparowicz coming in, so we're going to get to talk to him, pick his brain. I know that you know him very well.
Gave me my start.
Just go ahead and elaborate, because Armstrong. So I talked to the Quip guys. They said Armstrong. I think that's the best team we played. Then you see Mars go out and beat them 38-0. What do you got to say about that?
He's a guy who knows how to put a football program together. I think coaching football is sometimes the least of the worries. He really understands that. I heard up in Mars that they have an extra 300-plus kids now playing Little League football.
Wow.
Again, he's changed the program. He knows how to coach. He helped Kenny Pickett do the things that he did at Pitt. So, I mean, he's a primetime coach out there. And so, again, I'm not surprised at all by Mars' success.
Yeah, we'll get into that more, and your relationship with him in a little bit here. McGuffey over Keystone Oaks, 16-14. That's another big one. Now, I was at the Moon versus Bethel Park game. Moon was up 28-0 at halftime. But the final score was 42-34. Bethel Park ran off 34 in that second half. They almost came back and won that game. Like I said, a guy like Josh Bladel from Moon, Jared Moyer, Braden Stewart, he got player of the game. I gave him player of the game. He was a quarterback last year. He was messing around on defense a little bit. Didn't know where he wanted to go. Finally, they put him in a receiver. It looks like he found his home, and he had a breakout game. So I gave him player of the game. He had a great game the other night. Peters Township over Mount Lebanon, 42-0. What's a win like that for a 5A team to beat a 6A team by 42? What's that say?
In my opinion nowadays, I don't know how big the difference between the 5 and 6A are anymore.
Okay.
Of course, you have the juggernaut in Central Catholic there, but I think 5A is really competitive as far as football is going right now. So, I mean, you're going to have those games. Peters Township is having a heck of a season. I mean, that's a great football program.
Oh, yeah.
On a Mount Lebo team that's kind of, trying to find themselves right now, and they kind of took advantage of that.
Yeah, for sure. And so Pine-Richland, they're over there. They kept it rolling over Shaler, 38-14. Seneca Valley, they had a down year. They're starting to pick up some wins. They take out North Hills, 46-25. Southside, I got to talk about it. They're 8-0. They're going to keep their number 2 spot. They take out Laurel 35-7. Those guys are rolling in single A, serious contenders again. USO over Alderdice, 8-0. I want to speak on how big of a win that is for USO, because Alderdice is a big school.
Yeah, Alderdice is a big school. I think it's a big win for USO. And hate to do it, to give credit to the loser of the game, but to hold Boy to 8 points, I think it's a big deal.
That is a big deal.
Yeah,
no, it is. He didn't score two or more.
Yeah.
So last game we'll talk about before we get Coach on. West Allegheny, it was an upset alert. Blackhawk almost took them out, 10-6. West Allegheny, they slide by, like I talked to Coach Lynn from Moon the other night. As long as you get that win, it doesn't matter how you get it, as long as you get it. So West Allegheny, they take down Blackhawk 10-6. And before we get Coach on, I'm just going to run this down. PA Today Player of the Week is Ahmad Hill.
Mondo.
We got to give it to you from West Mifflin, man. 313 yards, 5 touchdowns. Next day, UNLV offered. Picks up that first Division I offer. You want to speak on that?
No, I think that's awesome. I think it's dope to have a freshman be able to play at that level and get an offer like that. Coach Marion at UNLV is doing a heck of a job.
Oh, my goodness, in the WPIAL,
did a heck of a job when he was at Pitt, doing a heck of a job down there now. I'm very excited for the kid. I think at that age, he still has a long way to go, but I think it just relieves a little bit of the stress for you, you know what I mean? Thinking about where I'm going to go to school after and stuff like that. To be a freshman with a college offer already, it makes things a little
more are coming now.
Yeah.
And the line he got in front of him, he got juice. Juice is going to be there for another 2 years.
Absolutely, yeah. So he has a good offensive line in front of him right now. West Mifflin, it seems like they always kind of have that, you know what I mean? So they'll continue to, and he'll continue to do cool things. Again, another player that's just in that, 26, 27 class that we get to enjoy for a couple more years. So
yep. Absolutely, he's in that 27 class now. I usually split it up into big schools and small schools, but this week I just picked 2 players that I thought, Player of the Week. Donald Barksdale, Steel Valley, we know about him. He's been starting varsity for a long time. But what he's been doing while his brother Duran is out has been incredible. 258 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns. They didn't have stats defensively, but we know what he does defensively. He's a special player on, offense and defense. He's just playing out of his mind. He's another guy you see a lot of in the offseason. Speak on Donald.
I said this before, I'll say it again. I will not be surprised by anything that him or his brother achieve. Those are 2 of the most consistent kids I've had the pleasure of training. Every day they walk in, smiles on their faces, ready to work, hands on the line when it belongs to. They run through the line. I love the way they're growing, maturing, kind of with the younger kids, kind of bringing them up, and kind of you're starting to see them find themselves. They're starting to find the leader in themselves.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool,
Yeah.
and I think it's a big deal right now for Donald. With his brother out, just kind of helping Steel Valley to come off, get these wins. Can't forget about the guy Mike Christ out there. He is rolling right now.
No, he's rolling people over.
I think that's one of the best pulling linemen in the WPIAL right now. 300 plus pounds.
His stock's rising.
Oh man, his stock is on the way up. You're seeing him starting to finish plays off a little more now. That's another kid to keep your eye on.
All right, and those are your PA Today Players of the Week. We're gonna go ahead and invite Coach LeDonne onto the show now. You ready, Byron?
Yes, sir.
Let's get him on. All righty, we're back. We're lucky enough to be joined by Jon LeDonne, head coach of the Pine-Richland Rams. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to PA Today Sports Talk. Byron over here. So we're going to take it all the way back. That's how we do it on this show, Coach. So when I go out to Aliquippa, they always remind me, they say, Jon's a Quip guy, right? I say, yeah, I do. You guys tell me every time I come out here. So can you tell us what it was like growing up in Aliquippa?
We were just a very close-knit family, close-knit community. Played with so much pride for what you represented, the name on the front of your jersey. All the guys that came before you, as a little midget, you look up to that high school team, and back then it was watching guys like Chico Williams and Tim Willis, Manny Willis, Mike Lundy and these guys, and Ty Law. And then you come up and you look for the opportunity to be those guys, and then once you get to high school, you're their own guys, and you got another generation looking up to you. So
that's what I was going to go to next. Can you speak on your playing days at Quip?
It was just a close bond with my brothers. We always talk about family, and some people use that loosely, but we were a true family there in Aliquippa. We always put the team before ourselves, and we cared about the team's success, and just spent a lot of time with those guys, both on and off the football field. So, small school like Aliquippa, multi-sport athlete. I think 10 of the 12 guys on the basketball team were football players, and then after that we went over the track. So just from one season to the next, you're just always with your brother.
So after Aliquippa, you head down the road to RMU. 4-year starter, great academics. Can you speak on your time at RMU?
Just very blessed to have the coaches that I had at RMU. We had 3 NFL coaches, players, and Coach Walton, Dan Radakovich, and Jon Magusiak. So those guys knew so much about football and taught us so much about football. You get to meet a lot of local guys, but the recruiting area was deep. We had guys from California to Florida and everywhere in between. So built a lot of relationship with those guys who we still talk to this day.
Byron, you got a question for Coach about his college days, playing-wise.
Yeah, what do you miss the most about playing?
Just the contact, I guess. I was a defensive guy. I'm a defensive head coach, and I try to instill that mentality in every team I had, the physicality and the mentality that we're going to hit everything that moves.
Yeah, I agree.
So you were a pretty good player, if I must say so. When did you know it was time to hang it up?
You think you always have it. One more play. After my senior year, I was scheduled to go over to Italy to play ball, but I had wrist surgery and it set me back. So I decided at that point it was time to hang it up and get on with the job for us.
So before I move on to some of, where you started at, can you speak on how you started and got into coaching?
Any successful team is led by great coaches. The impact that the coaches had on my life, both at Aliquippa and Robert Moore's, you just want to impact young children, help them to develop into young men, and that's the reason we're into this game.
Dope.
Good, yeah. You
No,
got a
I was
question?
just saying that's dope. I mean, I think that's the big reason that a lot of people kind of not only start to coach, but stay in coaching. People don't really understand, especially at the high school level. There's so many roles that you have to play, and you really don't get the opportunity to coach until Friday nights.
Yeah, and there's so many outside influences nowadays that push folks away from coaching, especially at the high school level. But the bonds that you build with players, and we block all the outside noise out and just do what we do, what's best for the children.
Yeah, awesome.
So before your head coaching days, you spent time as a defensive coordinator at Gateway, Steel Valley, and Keystone Oaks. What did you learn most in those early days as a DC?
I think early on, coming out the first few years at Keystone Oaks, I was the young guy, had a lot of high energy. Yeah. And I was coaching for a more seasoned guy, and Coach Ken Barris, who was there for maybe 8-10 years. And, just the way to go about your business daily, the work ethic, all the time that it takes. This was before the days of technology, so we had maybe 1 or 2 DVDs of the whole game. So we were there almost all day Saturday, back in on Sunday, and just all the work and effort that goes into it behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know about.
Oh, for sure. We're going to get to that. But so your first head coaching job comes at Shaler. They're on a 30-plus game losing streak. You break that. Do you want to just speak about your early days as a head coach and what you learned in those early days?
Yeah, taking that Shaler job, it was the first opportunity I was given to have my own program.
Okay.
Make my own footprint on how I wanted to coach and what I saw from my team. And, we won 2 games in 3 years, but we did break that 37-game plus losing streak, and we got the boys to buy in again to the family atmosphere. Had the opportunity to take over Penn Hills, but that summer going into there at Shaler, we got more guys out for the team, guys that were like baseball-only players or basketball-only players. Decided to play football, and they actually continued on to play football in college too. So
that's great.
That was pretty cool.
That's great. So we'll get into the Penn Hills days now that you spoke about. It was 2017. You got hired in February, right?
Actually started like late May, early June.
Wow, was that late?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So 2017 to 2021, correct? That is correct. Okay. So what was the first thing you wanted to come in and establish?
Like any program you get into, you just want to come in and build bonds with the players first. Not that Penn Hills was on hard times, but they were maybe
22 and 27
they were maybe
5 years before you came
500 team. It wasn't
under.
a traditional Penn Hills powerhouse that everyone thinks about, in the Quad East.
Yeah.
But it was coming in and building a relationship with the players. Coming from Shaler, I was 2 and 30 something, so there was a lot of doubt. Is this guy the right guy for the job? Does he know football? Does he know what's going on? We talked a lot about past experience, past time at Aliquippa and success at Aliquippa and Robert Moore. But building those relationships was the most important thing that first year. I think we ended up 8-4, won the first playoff game there or so. But just to see guys start believing in what we were doing that first year. We went down to Pitt, I think, got hired late May. We went down to the Pitt passing camp in 3rd week of June and won it all, and the guys were celebrating like we just won the WPIAL championship. So, there was just a lot of excitement going in. The potential was there, and the story wrote itself.
One thing I can remember coaching against you when you're down at Penn Hills, I was at Central, was you never really got married to like a style of play. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a thing where you could turn the film on and be like, oh, this is Coach LeDonne's offense, this is Coach LeDonne's defense. You kind of adjusted to the pieces that you had. Can you talk a little bit about kind of where you learned that from? It looks like you kind of still use that model today.
Yeah, I mean, at the high school level especially, you got the players that you have. You can't go out and recruit somebody to do one particular thing. So we got to be adaptive in who we are. And I think a lot of the good or great coaches do that. There may be some not so good coaches that are stubborn to their philosophies and schemes and stuff. And if you don't have a guy to do that and you can't operate or succeed doing it, then you need to look for a different way to solve that problem.
So like you said, you come in 2017, 8-4, you win a playoff game. The next year, we run the table, WPIAL State. How were you able to do that so fast?
I think I assembled a really good coaching staff. The guys that truly cared about the kids, and a lot of the stuff that we did off the football field and the bonding and providing for those kids. Now, Penn Hills is a different place, different dynamics. We showed the kids that we loved them, cared about them. I had assistant coaches spending paychecks to get guys swag and stuff for Friday nights. And, we had take guys to pizza night on Tuesdays and a bunch of different stuff that we did off the field. 15, 16, 17-year-old kids, to show that you love them, care about them, make them feel important no matter where they're coming from, what their background is, or what they have going on. There are a lot of good people out there, but some kids come from different situations. And no matter where you are, you have that. But to show kids that you care about them and love them is the most important thing you can do. I love that.
So you win the conference in 2019 and 2021, 46-14 in your tenure there. Can you speak about some of the great athletes you had the privilege to coach at Penn Hills over those, 4 years, 5 seasons?
Think about it. I mean, on that,
he starts laughing.
It's tough there, but everyone talks about that 18 team that we had. The senior leadership that we had. Hollis Mathis at quarterback, Tank Smith at running back, Daquan Hardy, Dante Cephas, Corey Thomas. Other guys that don't get talked about as much are just as talented. Ricky Martin on the back end, Andy Plowden, who's playing now, and Clarion, and Jordy Boswell, who didn't go on to play college ball, but was one of the best high school players that I've ever seen play, just with his speed and physicality and just the mentality that I don't care about my body, I'm going to hit everything that moves. It's a defense.
So you love that guy.
But I mean, we got guys not just at the highest level. We got guys playing at W&J and George Freeman and Elijah, just guys that are going on and having successful careers. That first group that I coached is now, finishing up college, on to the workforce, starting families and stuff. And to hear those stories,
That's awesome. It's the best part.
Yeah, it is.
Can you say something about kind of Penn Hills and just kind of the culture of the area? Because it seems like every year they have those gritty players that move fast, that move well. Even the team this year that they have, is it something about is it the water? You know what I mean? Some people always say that.
Yeah, it's the mentality there. They're brought up, some of them are brought up in tough environments, don't have a route to practice, don't have a route from practice. Figure it out, but they figure out how to get there. If they got to ride their bike there, get picked up. But it's just the mentality there. It's funny, my last year there, we went down to Aliquippa and scrimmaged.
Oh, wow.
And this is before Aliquippa became Heinz Field. And the visitors' bleachers were condemned.
They were on fire.
Weeds were growing on the side. The sidewalk was crumbled.
He was over there for the new stadium. He didn't see it before. He never was to the pit before the new stadium. How about that, Jon?
But our one freshman linebacker, running back, goes, man, Coach, I'm from the slums, but this is the bottom. So I'm like, man, don't talk about my house like that. But I mean, just the relationship aspect is the greatest part that football has given back to me with the 10 years plus in head coaching that I have.
So the Pine-Richland job comes up. What was it about Pine-Richland that, attracted you so much?
We always talk about investing in the community, and we went all in. My family went all in at Penn Hills when I was at Penn Hills. Same thing with Shaler. We put our house up for sale twice.
Oh, wow.
We were moving to Shaler, and then when I got the Pine-Richland job, we were moving to Pine-Richland. but by God's grace, the house didn't sell. So we've been living in the Pine-Richland community since 2011 or 12 or so. So when this job came open, it gave me the opportunity to go all into the community that I live and invest in, the children in our community.
So how important, you've already spoke on that, but I didn't know that you lived in that community from 2011. How important was it for you to come into that community and, let's build this up?
Yeah, I mean, it's not something that, like, you had to come in and
they already had a culture established
Coach
there.
K had something established with
Yeah.
the program, and came in and tweaked some things, did things my way, built relationships, cared about the kids. But I mean, I watched a lot of these guys that are playing now for me coming up through the youth program, and my daughters were cheering at the youth level, so I got to watch a lot of them come up from pee-wees to middle school to high school. So it's been an awesome experience for me thus far.
So last season, your Pine-Richland tenure starts out 1-3. Your quarterback goes down. We switch Ryan Palmieri. You see me tweeting about him a lot. You even got me his stats a couple times. Can you speak on what that kid did last year and how he was able to step up?
Yeah, so like I said, I watched him growing up through youth levels and the success that he had growing up. And, as a head coach, I'm not a micromanager. I try to let my staff do what they do, so I didn't get too involved with the offense up until that point. But I was always telling them guys, hey, get Palmieri some snaps at quarterback. All through the summer, through the preseason, hey, get Palmieri some snaps at quarterback. Knowing that we had a junior quarterback who never took a varsity snap, had some injury issues throughout the years, staying healthy throughout the season. So it was always in the back of my mind, we got to get Palmieri some reps in case. And, like you said, he went down, our starting quarterback went down in week 4. And at that time, we were still splitting reps between two quarterbacks in Kenan Huppin and Vaughn Spencer. Mm-hmm. But at that time, after that Seneca Valley loss on homecoming, I see the offensive staff in our coach's office drawing up some schemes for the next week for our other quarterback. And I just said, you could erase that stuff off the board, man. We're going with Ryan Palmieri. We moved Brady Kerrigan from tight end to offensive tackle, changed some other things up, and then history, Ryan wrote the story from there.
Well, that's what I say about you. You're able to evolve. You're a coach that evolves. You're not stuck in your ways, and I love that about you.
While you're talking about your staff,
go ahead.
Can you talk a little bit about, I think you have two of the best staff in the WPIAL in Steve Vasile and Dennison. You want to talk about them and kind of what they've done for Pine-Richland's past year?
Yeah, so, they both came in from have championships of their own. Steve was at Central Catholic for, 20 plus years, several WPIAL championships, several state championships with Coach Totten's staff. And then Alex, he was with me in Penn Hills for a little bit, went over to Mount Lebanon with Coach Pelko and won a WPIAL state championship there, and then got back with me now. So we had some changeover this past offseason with offensive staff, and I reached out to those two guys, especially after, it didn't work out for Coach Steve at Central, but the experience that they have, and they brought the championship mentality. It's easy for them to walk in the room and get respected right away instead of bringing someone else in that's got to build relationships and whatnot. So they hit the ground running and have done a fantastic job with what we're doing.
So what was it about last year's team that was able to run the table after starting 1-3?
Just the leadership that we had in that senior group. Started at the top of that senior group with Ryan Palmieri, but there were so many other leaders in that room with, Max Heckert, Jake Beam, Isaiah Kearns, Andrew Cerminara, who you talk about those guys, and we got some of their brothers here today. So, that senior leadership has rubbed off on them, and it talks a great deal about the family that they come from as well.
So I always love asking a coach this. How hard is it to win the WPIAL? Not only the WPIAL, but then the state title. It's got to be some luck too, right?
It takes players, it takes coaching, it takes some luck. It's a long season. You talk about a 16-game season in PA to get to the state championship now. So you start off in mid-August and you're playing to mid-December. So, injuries happen along the way. Like we were talking as a coaching staff the other day, the 2018 offensive line that we had in front of those dudes, man, it was piecemeal together. Like And that just talks to the athletic ability of those guys that were making those plays. But, you know, anytime you win a state championship and play 16 games, it takes a lot. A lot goes into that because you're going to have 1 or 2 or 3 backups on the field more than likely at some point in a meaningful game.
Byron, you got anything before I move into this season you want to ask him about last season?
Last season, no. I think you guys had a heck of a year last season. You guys ran the ball really well last season and this season. What is, and I think a lot of that comes from, of course, the offensive line. What does the offensive line mean for you this year? You have the big guy, Ryan Corey, up front, kind of leading the front. You know, what are those guys like for you?
Yeah, and I think across different coordinators, right, I always challenge them and said, this is who we are. This is our mentality. It's Western PA football. We're going to run the ball. And that was, you know, huge contrast to who Pine-Richland was a couple years ago.
Yes, it was.
But at the same time, you know, had an NFL quarterback in Ben DiNucci, a Power 5 quarterback in Phil Jakovic, Power 5 state championship wrestler in Cole Spencer. So, I mean, we didn't have that personnel, so we had to change some things up. But the offensive line led that mentality last year. You know, we talk about Ryan Corey, big-time Wisconsin commit this year as a junior. But, you know, Isaiah Kern came back off a season-ending knee injury from his junior year. Jake Dean was there as a multi-year starter. John Smith ended up stepping up for his first-year player. And then, like I said, Brady Kerrigan moved to that left tackle position. But they established the identity. Ryan Palmieri ran the football, got all the glory, but he would deflect all the attention to those guys who were opening the holes up. And then, you know, you got the H-backs as well. The fullbacks coming in. Vaughn Spencer, who played for us last year as a fullback. Andrew Cerminara, Alex Cerminara, them guys are part of that offensive line.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So we're going to go full circle now. We're going to bring it to 2023 Pine-Richland Rams. This season started off a little bit slow again, 1-2. Now we're 5-3. We're heading into Woodland Hills. They're peaking. What adjustments were made to get this back on track?
We had, after that North Allegheny loss, we had a heart-to-heart with a lot of the players in the locker room that Monday. Just, really challenging them. Talked about the mentality of who we are and what we want to do, where we want to go, and how we want to get there. Some of the guys maybe weren't putting forth the effort outside of the practice time that was required. But after that week, we went in and did what we did against Central Catholic, but the practice mentality changed. Everything about the energy and excitement from that point on has been a lot higher level, and we try to have the senior group lead that. I think we just needed to assist them a little more this year getting there.
For sure. And so you head into Central Catholic. You guys are 3-3. They were perfect 6-0, and honestly, a lot of people thought they were unbeatable. You don't have to give us too much, but how were you able to prevail over that team?
I just think our main goal going in, it was a non-conference game, and I wasn't hyping it up all week.
Nothing to lose.
My thing was to just get out of that game healthy, But when we talk, who we are is our mentality of being physical. And we talked about keeping Central Catholic's offense off the field with our offense by running the ball and moving the sticks. And Cannon Huffman, senior quarterback, went down the week before, so we were playing a freshman quarterback. So we talked about using the Wildcat a little more, which we used it a lot more once we got into the game. But just the physical nature, a lot of one-way players on Central Catholic, but I think we wore them down. It became a mentality, how we condition our bodies and everything else along the way.
What does that win do for your guys, the team? I think, they get all the hype here in the WPIAL, western side of PA, the big 6A school. What does that do for the confidence of the players on your team to know that they can step into a ring like that and handle it the way they did?
Yeah, I just think it showed them that they could compete with anybody when they're putting forth maximum effort. Obviously, we talk to them all the time. No one's going to roll over because we're Pine-Richland. We're not going to walk into a game and already have someone defeated. You got to show up and make plays and play football. So they saw the way they're capable of playing now. So just increase the energy that much more in practices as well.
And this ain't a question. Can you just elaborate on Ethan Pillar?
He's tough-nosed. I always tell his dad Ethan's different, and his dad knows he's different. But, he's cut from a different cloth. He grew up, was born in Cleveland, actually, so he's a big Cleveland's Brown fan. And
that's why he's at the Browns game. All right.
So he's not afraid to say that in Western PA here, but he was brought up tough with his dad, and he's a tough-nosed kid. And as a one-way player, he's challenging us to give him the ball more, and he wants to be that dude. And I think he went out there last week and showed that he could answer the bell.
You heard, I talked to him after. I said, "You good?" He said, "Man, I jumped in the hot tub. I'm fine." So you want to speak about your line? So you guys had 401 yards rushing against that, Central Catholic defense that has Power 5 guys everywhere. You want to speak about your line in that game as well, not just Ethan?
Yeah, we were just talking about getting on our guys, driving our feet, good technique. I think Coach Mack, our offensive line coach, does an excellent job teaching the technique to these guys. But I think three of those guys are first-year starters at the varsity level, even though it's a senior group, 5 seniors up front. 3 of them guys are first-year players in varsity football. But they did a really good job this offseason and getting their bodies right to be able to play at a high level in 5A, 6A football. So, but, it all starts with Ryan up front for sure. And, we challenge him a lot all the time because of who he is. Maybe put more pressure on him than we should, but as a leader of the football team, he accepts that role, and he's able to go out each week and do what he does on both sides of the football.
Quick question about Ryan. I know Pine-Richland has a rich history of offensive linemen. You guys have had Kristofic, Harrison Hayes at Liberty, all the way back to Jason Capizzi, who played for the Steelers. Does he feel any of that pressure to be that next Pine-Richland lineman, and do you guys have somebody else in mind right now to kind of take his place when he's done?
You never know how the up and coming is with who's developing. We got a lot of potential with our sophomore group, but only time will tell how that develops. But speaking of Ryan, he's a great kid. He's very impressionable, and he's always smiling at me, and just try to have a lot of talks with him, conversations to make sure he's not overwhelmed by that. He made his commitment, got that out the way, but there's always a thing like, hey, did I make the right decision? Am I going the right spot? But I'm like, hey, man, just clear your mind.
Go play
football. I want you to get back to loving the football game, being excited and being happy out there. And, that was kind of after North Allegheny week. I saw he was kind of like dragging a little bit, just wasn't himself. And we had a heart-to-heart talk a little bit in the office. And, gave him a hug, told him I loved him, and he came out that next week back to the old Ryan Corey that I know.
That's awesome, man. And you want to speak on this, the leaders of this team, the heart and soul?
Yeah, so we got a lot of leaders. 3 of them are here today with me.
Yeah, you want to speak on those 3?
Vasile Balouris, just a undersized kid that just gives maximum effort, goes out, does everything the right way all the time. You talk about being a student athlete, perfect ACT score. I think 5 points away from a perfect SAT score. Probably like a 6.0 GPA. And, he's not making excuses to miss football practice or basketball practice. He's a multi-sport athlete, putting the time in to perfect his craft as an athlete, while at the same time taking the heavy course load that he's taking and the academic rigor at Pine-Richland. And then we got Alex Cerminara, younger brother, youngest of several brothers that came through Pine-Richland and have led their teams to championships. So, he was a part of that championship team last year, but maybe he got some weight on his shoulders at home. That, the 2 older brothers led their team to championships as seniors, and can you do that?
It's different as a senior.
Yeah, But, another great leader that we have and what he does for our team. He's a one-way player, and he accepts the role that, I'm going to go block every play, maybe touch the ball 1 time a game, but I'm going to do my job and
he's okay
enjoy
with
doing that.
Yeah.
And then Sam Heckert, he's a junior that we named the captain based on how he goes about business and what he does. Younger brother again of Max Heckert, who won a championship last year for us, who's at Slippery Rock now starting as a freshman at linebacker. Also a multi-sport athlete, high academic. But, the thing about these guys, and we see their families sitting over here, they come from great families as well. So they were brought up the right way, do things the right way on and off the football field. and hold our teammates to a higher standard.
Absolutely, Coach. Would you like to speak on some of the younger talent you have?
Yeah, so, we talked about Ubi Strader, a little bit freshman quarterback.
Yeah, we touched on him.
Came in and earning reps for us, as
Okay.
he picks up the offensive scheme more, gets more comfortable, the sky's the limit for him. But we got a really good sophomore class of guys that are getting some reps right now. And Mac Miller is a running back, H-back.
Keep hearing his name.
Jay Timmons, who's coming in, getting some reps on special teams. Johnny Kern is pound for pound one of the strongest high school football players that I've ever seen. So once he gets going on a varsity football field, it's going to be nice to watch. And then Ethan's younger brother, Grant Pillar, is getting some reps for us on linebacker on defense as a sophomore as well. So we have a bright future ahead of us. Tanner Cunningham, another junior captain that we named, he started for us last year as a sophomore as well. So there's just a lot of excitement for the future of Pine-Richland football, and that goes all the way down to our youth level. We got 2 teams of 40 plus on each team across the different age groups at the youth level. So there's a lot of success down there. Playoffs are beginning this week, and we're just excited for now and the future of the Pine-Richland football program.
Quick question about Strader. What's it like having a freshman quarterback or a freshman at that position at quarterback? You know how everyone asks about the quarterback position. Are there things that you change? You guys do things to kind of take pressure off of him and kind of like, does he feel like he has to lead the team? I think that's always the stigma of a quarterback. They have to be a leader of the team.
Yeah, he's a leader. He demands that respect in the huddle. He controls the huddle. At the same time, I tell the offensive coaching staff, let's ease him into things, let him get comfortable. He comes from a pedigree, football background. Dad played at a high-level college ball. Brother's playing at a high level right now as a true freshman in Miami, Ohio. So he's been around that. He sees what it takes to be successful. So as we hit, week 7, week 8, week 9, and into the playoffs this year, he's now, matured into a sophomore now. So we're going to start giving him a little more to handle as well.
For sure. Coach, last question before I get into some quick hitters with you. What do you guys got to do over the next couple weeks, to prepare for another deep playoff run?
I'm not a big rah-rah guy when it comes to like pregame speeches and whatnot. Each week we talk about, the game of football is pretty simple. You take care of the football, you tackle the football, and limit big plays. Right?
That's it.
So that's our goals. We're going to take care of the football, and we're going to run the ball. And Ethan had some fumbleitis early on in the season. I think he had 3 or 4 fumbles in the first couple games, but we got that corrected now. And take care of the football, move the sticks, take care of the football, limit the big plays. We're still giving up some big plays defensively in the passing game that we got to get corrected. But and then we talk about special teams being a third of the game. We got a heck of a kicker in Grant Argero who does great things for us. So win the battle of special teams, and he won 1/3 of the game right there.
So I'm going to go over my quick hitters, and then Coach B can go over his best athlete you've ever coached.
I'm going to go with Daquan Hardy.
Now, best football player you've ever coached. There's a difference.
Oh, yeah, best football player, definitely Ryan Palmieri last year.
Okay, I'm with you there. Smartest player you've ever coached, because you've had a lot of them.
Vasile Balouris.
Vasile?
Yeah.
The biggest jokester.
Biggest jokester. Ooh. Tone Grimes from Penn Hills is a really big jokester. But he's one that, everybody loved. He started for us as a sophomore, and, everyone around him loved him, but he had a lot of jokes, and Ethan Pillar's right up there with him.
Okay. Best player you ever coached again, just total hell.
The quarterback from Manheim Central that I think he went on, that we played in the state championship game in 18. I can't remember where he went on to play, but he made some completions against a secondary that had
You guys were literally
three Power 5 players in that secondary. He made some plays on us that game.
Who was your mentor in football, man?
My mentor, we talk about coaches all the time. Coach Z at Aliquippa and Coach Walton at Robert Morris were 2 guys that influenced me so much. But biggest influence would be Dan Peep Short at Aliquippa, the defensive coordinator, who's still with them guys now. And I get my mentality from him. He was a defensive guy, very aggressive, dominant, but everything, I owe that man so much to who I am and why I am who I am. Real quick story, there was one time we were in the huddle, sophomore year. I think we were playing Washington Prexies that week, and I think that year we had maybe 4 or 5 sophomores in the defensive huddle going into the semifinal game. My older brother Brandon was quarterback at the time, but he played safety for us. So defense messed something up, and Short comes in the huddle, wham, 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 punches everybody in their helmet. He gets to my brother and doesn't hit him. I'm like, no, hit his ass too. But it's just that mentality. You can't do that stuff nowadays.
No, we get it.
It's that mentality. I owe that man so much.
No, I get it. Before I turn it to over to B, what continues to make you want to coach and be great, man?
Like I said, the biggest thing is the relationships with the kids and helping develop players into young men on and off the football field. We always talk about who they are. Once they graduate college, hopefully, get a wife, become a husband, become a dad, and what they do for their kids. So,
their family.
I try not to let outside influences impact that for the most part, but to build those relationships and help develop young men.
Absolutely. That's all I got for you. You got anything for me?
I don't have any quick hitters, but I like to ask coaches this question.
Yeah, anything you got.
People don't think about this enough as coaches and how we grow. How has coaching grown you as a man, and more especially this year than others?
So it's just that evolution, right? Like I said, I came out, young guy, full of energy, just excited to be out there. Now I use my mind a lot more. Before I would run them guys through 25, 30 minutes individuals, and they would get time for group work, and them guys were shot.
Yeah.
So I use my mind a lot more nowadays, just with the growth and maturity of my approach to practices.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Coach Jon LeDonne, can't thank you enough, my man.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much, Coach.
Thanks for all you guys do.
Absolutely. And that's the segment with the head coach of Pine-Richland. Thank you, Jon. Alrighty, PA Today Sports Talk. We're back. I'm your host, Jon Magusiak, co-host Byron. And how we do it when we bring the Pine-Richland Rams on and how we do it when we bring the players on is we let them introduce themselves. So, Sam, go ahead and introduce yourself, position, class,
Yeah, I'm Sam Heckert. I'm class of 2025 and I play outside linebacker for the Rams.
Okay, and then keep it moving down left to right.
Hi, I'm Alex Cerminara. I'm a class of 2024 and I play tight end.
I'm Vasile, Balouris. I'm also class of 2024 and I play a slot and safety.
All right, we'll stay with you, Vasile. So let's get right down to it. What makes you so effective in between those lines?
I think the biggest thing that makes me effective is just football IQ and preparation through our coaches, making good schemes and emphasizing film and just being around the game for a lot of time. I think I'm able to see the bigger picture of what's going on and make plays that way.
Okay, and Alex?
Yeah, so I'm a tight end. I'm a lead blocker for most plays. My big thing is just put my head down, run through the line, hit the first jersey that's a different color.
Yeah.
That's always how I play.
Yeah.
Just be as effective as possible.
Absolutely, absolutely. For you, Sam?
Yeah, obviously I'm not the biggest or the fastest, but my ability to understand what Coach LeDonne and Coach Morocco has set up for us on the defensive side and my ability to play behind our defensive line.
Okay, and so I'm going to stick with you. You were on the team. What's it like to win a WPIAL and a PIAA title?
Yeah, it was surreal. I mean, it didn't feel real, especially ending the season on a win. That was super weird.
Yeah.
But, and missing those guys, but it was super cool playing alongside my brother.
That's what I was going to ask.
And yeah, just getting the job done week in and week out.
So I was going to ask that. What was it like playing alongside your brother?
I mean, it was cool. We had our up and down moments on the field, yelling back and forth at each other.
Of course.
But most of the time, obviously, we were winning, so it was good. It was fun.
What was that title feeling like? I know you weren't seniors. It's a little bit different when you get to be a senior. But what was it like winning a WPIAL and PIAA title?
Yeah, it was incredible just being able to contribute on such an incredible team with so many great players. It was awesome. Same as Sam, I had an older brother
that's
that
what
I
I'm
played with, and such a cool moment.
Yeah.
It honestly didn't hit for a while. Like, it took a while.
Elaborate on playing with your brother. How was it with your brother?
Oh, it was awesome. Just him and I have been so close forever, and just to share that moment.
That's awesome, man. Vasile?
Yeah, I would just say I still feel like it hasn't fully hit.
Yes.
It's unreal, yeah.
We're going to stick with Vasile. You got a question for him, Byron?
What's it like for you guys? Is your senior year? I always say players are always just such a different player their senior year. You know, how do you feel like you're different now as your senior year in comparison to last year?
Yeah, I feel like senior year, it's just that sense of urgency kicking in. You can almost like visualize the clock ticking down. So you really feel that like every play matters, every game matters just that much more because you never know what you're going to have left. So I just feel like everyone's just playing with a sense of urgency.
Yeah, everything really changes kind of realizing that this year, like, I had to be that guy to step up. I couldn't really let others take that job. Like, that was my turn to do that. And if I didn't, it would just be a disservice to the younger guys.
And Sam, you're a junior. I know you got another year, but now that you're upperclassman, you feel a little bit different, you know what I mean, as like a leader, because you're getting playing times, you're getting reps, but you're a sophomore. Now that you're a junior, you're expected to lead. Do you feel that?
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing with these guys my entire life, these seniors. I'm on the older side in my grade, but I played with these guys my entire life. So hopefully getting another WPIAL win this year would be great. And then just setting the tone for the younger guys, understanding what the bar is and what they have to do to succeed.
I love it. Can you speak on your coach, Coach LeDonne?
I mean, nothing bad. He's a great guy. He pushes us every day. Defensive coordinator, he sets up great schemes that for week in and week out, and he lets us know when we're down or we're not doing good, and then when we're winning, he praises us real well. So I can't say anything bad.
Alex, can you speak on your coach?
Yeah, just such an incredible crew of everybody that's there. I mean, to really just highlight it after our big NA loss, that was demoralizing.
It's tough,
Embarrassing.
It's tough,
Like, for them to sit us down and just kind of really, they gave us a talk that hit home for me especially. They let us talk, and everything they did, like, really just helped, and obviously had a great outcome with us going on to be able to beat Central. So it's a great crew, and it just makes for a very good environment.
We're going to get to that. Vasile, speak on your coaches, though.
Yeah, Coach LeDonne knows exactly what he's talking about, knows the ins and outs. Super smart, way smarter than he gets credit for. Put together a great staff, and one thing that I feel like is the biggest part of what he does is just how he makes it feel like a family.
Yeah.
Like all the
You can
all
hear
the
it when he
coaches,
talks,
all the coaches he surrounds with us. He really makes everyone like feel loved and shows everyone value, which is just, it's easy to play for them.
We're going to stick with you. Now, you said it, beat Central. You guys kind of turned the corner here, in my opinion, once you beat Central. What was it about that game? You know, you guys got over the hump, and now we're rolling again.
Yeah, I mean, the Central game just felt a little different. We threw a pick six on the first offensive drive, but the whole atmosphere wasn't like worried mode. We were calm, we were ready, we came back, we responded. Now I feel like because of that game, we see what we can do. We see what
beat
we're
anybody.
capable of. Yeah. And we're just rolling with it now.
Yeah. Alex, for you?
Yeah, that game was awesome. Just as Vasile said, I think everyone was able to calm down and kind of just realize that if we do our job, if we do our thing, we absolutely can hang with anybody. And to go on to win that game was great. So I really tried to preach that week in practice too. Like, it felt horrible just the week before to lose the NA like that. You don't want that. Feeling again. No.
Yeah.
So I hope that kind of really resonates with people, and the fact that we can be greater as long as we don't have ourselves back.
And Sam, what do you think it was that allowed you guys to turn the corner here?
Yeah, I mean, we went into the game knowing we had nothing to lose. We were back in the same spot, 3-3 record as we were last year, knowing we had nothing to lose. Central Catholic undefeated, so just playing out there, doing our job, and playing for the guy next to us really helped us.
And Byron, you got a question for these boys you might have?
Yeah, what does that do for your team's confidence? You beat the team that everybody is saying is the best on this side of the state. You guys playing a very competitive 5A, conference. What does that do for the morale of the team, just knowing that you kind of took down them and then going forward and progressing?
I feel like it just sets the standard. It shows what we're capable of, and now we got to bring that every week because we know it, and the coaches know what we're capable of now, and who we can beat, and what we can accomplish. So we just got to keep rolling with it.
Yeah, we all knew we were great, but we had to prove it. We had to prove it to ourselves too, and prove it to the whole WPIAL. And I think that game really aided in doing that, and hopefully just giving everyone confidence, like play to have fun and like have a good time. And with having fun, it's winning too.
Oh, y'all woke the WPIAL up that night. Don't worry, you woke them up. And Sam, kind of elaborate on what he said. He didn't really have a question, but what does this win do for your confidence?
Yeah, I mean, we got to keep it going. We can't be complacent. Obviously, it was a big win, but it doesn't do anything for us in the conference standings. We still have to go in and beat Woody, beat North Hill. So, I mean, it helps us and morale-wise, but the job's still got to be done.
All right, boys, we talked some football. Let's have some fun. Vasile, who's the funniest on the team?
Funniest on Ethan Pillar, easy.
Hands down.
Ethan Pillar for sure.
All right, who's the most serious?
Most serious?
He never cracks a smile. You got a serious guy?
I don't know. Come back.
All right.
I would say maybe not so much off the field, but on the field, I would say John Smith.
Okay.
Our guard.
Okay. You got a guy?
Yeah, definitely John Smith. He's definitely stepped into a leadership role, and it's not a bad thing that he's always serious, but he's always making sure that his line's doing a great job. And
No, you
definitely
need
John
one
Smith.
on the line. Do you not need one of those guys that takes
You need more than
everything serious?
You need more than one.
Yeah, you need a whole crew.
Yeah, you need
No,
more
you're
than
right. Who's the loudest?
Ooh,
The loudest.
I'm
know
gonna
what
go
I mean?
Eli Wentz.
Eli Wentz?
That's another kind
Alex?
That's another one that's pretty obvious. Eli Wentz.
Okay.
I got Evan Johnson.
Evan
You never know
Johnson?
what you're gonna get with him.
Okay, he's got
Great
okay.
guy.
Who hits the hardest? I know you guys are a physical team, so this is a question I wanted to ask.
I got Ryan Corey. He comes down
Okay.
the D-line flat and he blows people up.
Okay.
Yeah, Ryan's always been kind of the guy.
The guy that just the hardest hitter?
And Ethan too. I mean,
Ethan cracks.
He'll run through anybody. So.
There's definitely a few guys you don't want to hit at practice, but definitely when I see Big Ryan pulling at me, I know not to get in his way.
All right, we'll stay with you, Sam. What's your favorite thing about being a part of this Pine-Richland football team? And not only the football team, but this is a community. You see everybody out here that supported you. Can you talk about being a part of that?
I mean, it's great whether you go to the grocery store or the local gym. Everyone's always congratulating you on your win, or whether it's a loss, it's always keep your head up. And team-wise, I mean, it's a family. Coach LeDonne preaches it every day, but really just inside the locker room, I mean, we always joke, have fun, so
Yeah.
definitely family.
You want to speak on this community and this football team and just
Yeah.
how the community supports you?
Pine-Richland is incredible. I mean, our fans are incredible. Everyone always, they care so much about something that doesn't even necessarily have to do with them all the time. And it's just awesome to be supported by so many great people. And of course, within the team, like, just a great group of
Yeah.
guys that we've been around forever.
Yeah, and Vasile?
It really just goes to show that when you're on the field, you're not only playing for yourself and your teammates and your coaches, but also your parents
Everybody.
and just community members are so invested in the team here. It's just awesome to be able to work hard and showcase your abilities for something bigger than yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
one thing I can speak
Yeah.
on in my 1 year there at Pine-Richland, I kind of got to be in those meetings, and I commend the community for the way that they treat football there. The parents and everybody and the boosters behind it kind of make it a football culture. You know, you kind of almost don't have a choice, you know what I mean, but to have
It's football.
and to have it the way that it is. So when I was there, I was very impressed on how, I went to a couple parent meetings and stuff like that, and just how involved all the parents are and everything, and all the things that they kind of provide for you guys. So I mean, Pine-Richland, it seems like a place that it will always kind of have that football culture.
last question I got for you boys before I get you out of here. Vasile, start with this. What do you guys got to do to make another deep playoff run and, state run?
We just got to focus on the week at hand, really lock into our technique, focus in practice, have a good practice every day, watch the film, prepare for the opponent, and just not look ahead. Just take every week
I love that.
that comes and get
Week
after
by
it.
week, game by game, yeah.
We know what
Alex?
we can do. We just got to show it.
Yeah, sorry, Vasile.
Oh, you're good.
Alex?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we just have to do our jobs. Our coach always preaches do your 111. I think that's so important. If we all just come together as a team, do our thing, nobody can beat us, and I 100% believe that.
What you guys got to do, to make another playoff run, man?
Yeah, I mean, you got to trust the guy next to you. It's you and 10 other guys on the field on your team. So just trusting the guy next to you is going to do their job to help us succeed.
Got one last question for these boys?
Yeah, real quick, what do you guys, what's a high and a low point of this season for where you're at right now?
For the games,
Just for where you're
Where
at
you're
right
at,
now.
total season, from
Camp,
where you
total
started,
season,
yeah.
kind of where you guys started, where you're at today.
So a low point that we could probably improve on is, again, just coming into practice every day and focusing And then the high point I feel like was definitely that central game, just getting us to go around,
Yeah.
around the corner.
Yeah, I'd say a low point is just mentality-wise. I think we kind of just went into some games in NA to be specific, just kind of feeling like it's just another game.
Yeah.
Where for us, like this is it. This is our last year.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Just another game is one more game to like do your thing and show off. So I'd say a low point was just when we were too down on ourselves and weren't thinking how important each game for us is. As a high point, it's just the opposite. Like we're able to come together and be great, and I hope that continues.
And Sam?
Definitely. Coming into the season, we were still on the high of state championship and all that stuff. So being humbled real quick by Pick North, Penn Hills, those losses, and then just turning it around in the locker room. We had a talk before Central Catholic, coaches, players in the locker room, just understanding what we have to do to win, and definitely a high for us was beating Central Catholic.
For sure. Sam, Alex, Vasile, can't thank you boys enough for joining the show today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was the segment with the Pine-Richland Rams. Thank you, boys, again. Appreciate you
Thank
guys.
you.
Good luck the rest of the season, boys.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for having us. My pleasure.
All right, welcome back. We haven't done this yet, but we have a special guest. We have Jaivin Peel. This past Friday, he set the WPIAL freshman passing yards. He is now the leader of that record. How's it feel, my guy?
It feels great, man, knowing that I'm part of history and just that, and I can still add to this shit. It feels great.
So first off, I want to say congratulations on breaking that record. I know how much work you put in. The record was 1,728 yards. You went into the game, you only needed 5 yards, right? I know how much work this guy put in. I even ran him through some drills this summer. So, I want to ask you, you put in a lot of work, Jaivin. You got to have a little bit more than that to break that type of record in your freshman season. What did it mean, that completion when you broke the record? What was the feeling?
It was great. As I threw, I got hit, and then I looked up, and I was just like I just gave all the glory to God, because everything comes from Him, and I was just amazed. I worked so hard just for everything, and now I'm in the history books. It's just crazy.
Now you're in the history books forever.
Yes, sir.
Like I said, heading into the game, he only needed 5 yards to break the record. Was this just another game for you, or how were you looking at it?
I was looking at it as I can break the record, I'm going to, but just get the win.
It's going to happen, get the win there.
Yep.
So Byron, you got something you want to ask a freshman that just broke a record like that?
Yeah, first and foremost, congratulations on breaking the record. Number two, as a freshman, where do you go from here, and how do your coaches kind of help you just play into the role as a freshman? Again, having the big role and kind of having to be a leader as a freshman.
I just want to keep winning and stuff. And from here, my coaches, they tell me every game to start off with small passes. Then you get into the deeper passes and stuff, and we'll just work from there.
As a freshman quarterback, what do you think the biggest difference is from that 8th grade, 7th grade football?
Oh, the game speed is way faster. From junior high to high school, it's so much faster.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, when you get to college, it's a lot faster.
So Jaivin, I see on Twitter a lot. You give a lot of credit to your receivers. You want to shout them out?
Yeah, Dorian McGee, Mikey Crawford, Dante Green, and Chris. They're all great wide receivers. They're the reason I'm able to break this record and everything. They're just great wide receiver, great four to have.
What about your offensive line?
That's where I was just going. How about that
Don't forget about them.
Yeah, my offensive line, I haven't got sacked in 2 weeks actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Steak dinner's on the way.
They've
There's a lot for you.
They've really improved since from week 1 to now.
So Jaivin, 2,509 yards, 25. You have 25 touchdowns on the year, right?
Yes, sir.
So what are we looking forward to next? Now the record's out of the way. What are you looking forward to next?
I want to go to WPIALs and maybe even state. I want to try to win as much as we can now from here.
Okay. And Byron, like I said, a freshman playing at this level. What's another question you might have for me?
Another question I have for you, what do you think it's going to take for you to do all the things that you just said you want to go to? Go on to win the WPIAL, go on to possibly compete for state championship?
Just keep working, and I think just getting closer with my teammates and just getting that extra work in after practice, or maybe even before practice, just working with them, watching the film, and then just talking to the coach about game and stuff.
And how do you not how do you not get complacent and continue to improve? Because this is a big year, you're only a freshman. How do you stay grounded?
always like this whole offseason I'm just gonna have to train, work, and then going into next season, just have the same goals as this year. Nothing less.
And like I said, I've seen you a little bit this summer. You want to talk about the work you put in this summer?
Oh, I put in so much work. It was like, because I knew that I'm gonna have a chance to start, so I was like, and it's gonna be a crazy jump, so I knew I had to put in a lot of work.
Like I said, I seen you. I think it was like May.
Yeah.
So May to now, where would you say you're most improved?
I'm most improved on my mechanics a lot, and practicing.
I have that old video.
Yeah.
You look way different.
Yeah. So yeah, just practicing my mechanics a lot, and especially mirror drills, and just doing that a lot. Yeah.
Well, Jaivin, I really appreciate you coming on. We just more so just wanted to congratulate you on breaking the WPIAL freshman passing record. Byron, you have anything you want to leave him with?
No, I wanted to say congratulations. Good luck going on. Again, another young player in the WPIAL that we look forward to watching for the next couple of years. I think it's awesome what you're doing, and best of luck to you.
The new WPIAL freshman passing leader, Jaivin out of Western Beaver. Thanks for joining us here, Jaivin. Alrighty. As we get back into PA Today's Sports Talk, before the power rankings, we're going to head to the trenches for this segment. I will now turn it over to my co-host for Coach Byron's 2 cents.
There's my 2 cents on the season. Of course, you guys know I'm here to talk about the big dogs today. Offensive, defensive linemen, the WPIAL, who, we don't talk about them as much as we need to, but as everybody knows, we are probably the most important part of the game. And without us, wins don't even look foreseeable. First and foremost, I want to give Rico Steele a big shout out on his commitment to Bowling Green. That kid is playing lights out. Probably one of the best down blocking, front side of power offensive linemen in the WPIAL. Doing awesome over there with the kid Juice, as well as Braden Walker. West Mifflin is nobody to sleep on. Welcome back, Niexay Robinson. I'm sorry if I messed up your name, Samaj Fuse. They're coming back, playing really strong ball. 2 of the best defensive linemen in the WPIAL in that 2025 class. So definitely keep an eye out for them. Again, like I said, Juice is coming back looking like one of the best WPIAL offensive or defensive linemen, playing wherever he wants to play, just imposing his will upon everybody. So definitely make sure that we keep an eye out for him. I think he's a guy in the next couple of weeks we'll start to see some schools start to pay a little bit of attention to. I want to give Ty Uhosh from Central Catholic some credit for his selfless play this year at Central Catholic. It's a kid who, he plays defensive end last year. I think, in my opinion, he was the best defensive lineman in the WPIAL coming into this season. Makes a big jump from defensive end down into the nose guard position. He's doing really big things for Central Catholic in the center of that defense. I think it's also a situation where it helps him as well for the next level at Pitt. He kind of knows what it's like to play on the inside of the trenches and can play on the edge as well. Last year, I thought he was the best edge defender in the WPIAL. Couldn't run outside zone against them, couldn't get the ball on the edges, and kind of handled that really well. Now he's going on the inside in front of the center, wreaking havoc on offenses again. We want to give a shout out to the Cunningham twins over there in South Park. Those boys are absolutely balling right now, especially Parker. I think Parker is one of the best two-way WPIAL linemen I've seen offensively and defensively. Offensively, I think is kind of where he has more of his strengths at. One of the best out there highlight films I've seen in a bit. So definitely a big shout out to those two kids. I heard about them last year, and I got a chance to kind of find them this year and kind of see what they were talking about, and they are both the real deal. Not to take anything away from his brother Troy, really good edge defender, plays really well at tackle, very athletic offensive tackle. Again, two-way twins that are doing awesome things in the WPIAL. And then we're going to take it all the way out to Hollidaysburg with Hunter Albright and Wyatt Maines, 2 of the biggest dudes out here in this side of the state, I guess you would call it. Westinghouse went up there and had a pretty good game against them, but those 2 guys are 2 Power 5 potential. I know Hunter Albright has already established himself as a Power 5 offensive line, so it's really fun just watching his highlights week in and week out. Wyatt Maines' footwork is looking incredible, and even the way that he's playing week in and week out is looking really well. So definitely want to give those 2 guys a shout out and just make sure that we keep an eye on those guys. Some other guys throughout the WPIAL who I think are doing really well and kind of impressed me. Nicholas Engelmar out of Avonworth. I think he just had a big visit down in Kentucky this week.
He did.
That kid kind of came out of the woodwork and started blowing up. He is in the 2025 class, so that's a big name that we're going to
I'd even go as far as saying he's a big reason why they're doing what they're doing right now.
Absolutely. I mean, I think he's kind of in the conversation with one of the best offensive linemen in his class, with the Sam Brackneys, with the Jack Kachenkos and stuff like that. So
I agree.
That's a guy that we want to definitely keep an eye out for. Another one, Jaden Keys, kind of coming out of the scene. the thing about offensive linemen is kind of the way that we work. You know, it's very rare that we see offensive linemen kind of like the kid out of CV. What's his name? I can't believe I forgot his name right now.
Which one are you talking about?
know.
Brendan Alexander?
Brandon Alexander. You know, not everybody has the experience, like experience of offensive line play like Brandon Alexander comes out. You know, sometimes it takes guys years to kind of come on the scene and kind of gain the weight, gain the knowledge of offensive line play. I think Jaden Keys is one of those kids who's doing awesome things for himself right now. Who else do we have out here? Demetrius Ballard out of Valley. I'm going to continue to say it. That's the WPIAL's biggest kept secret. You can watch the film. That's one of the best defensive linemen in the WPIAL. One of the best defensive lineman prospects in the WPIAL when you see the size. The kid is 6'5", every bit of 275 pounds, arms long as they can be, hunting down screens, backside of plays, everything that you want. He has the athleticism, he has the size, he has the strength. We got the opportunity to see him at the top 150.
Yeah, we did.
He did some really big things. He got some really good offensive linemen. Who else do we want to talk about? Of course, Kelsey Hunley's doing big things over there in Penn Hills. He's looking really well this year.
Talk about your boy Jack.
Huh?
Jack, did you talk about him yet?
Jackie Chanko, yeah, I think we all know. I mean, I'm really high on Jackie Chanko. I think that's one of the WPIAL's best offensive linemen, no matter what class.
What about Liam Reamer? I know you were a little bit high. You were higher on him.
Really high on Liam Reamer as well. I think I had him ranked number 5. In
yeah, that's why I said something. I saw that.
He had just committed to.
I can't remember where off the top of my head. Here, we'll look it up. But go ahead, keep going.
He just got his commitment.
We'll get it.
So congratulations to him as well. And the WPIAL right now, I mean, we have a pretty strong offensive defensive line class. I don't think people are paying enough attention to. Matt Boyce out of South Fayette.
My
that
goodness.
kid is a highlight reel.
He
Very
was at the
exciting.
camp, wasn't he? Or no, that was they had another guy, Mason Green.
Yes,
you really
Mason
liked
Green
too.
Actually, was the offensive line MVP. For the other group.
That's right.
You know, he's out there getting some playing time. Again, the thing with offensive line is, I mean, it's a position of strength and size and speed and technique. So it kind of takes guys some time to get into that position and play really well. I seen he's getting some film and getting out there as a sophomore.
So Liam's committed to Delaware. I wanted to say it, but I wasn't sure. He is committed to Delaware. Maine, excuse me. We'll cut that out.
Congratulations.
So, hold on, just repeat that.
Liam is committed to Maine, so congratulations to Liam Reamer on his commitment. Kind of takes a little bit of pressure off you. He's looking really well this season. Of course, we all have seen lately who is the kid of the 2026. I'm sorry, Josiah Collins just got his first offer out of Temple.
We're going to talk about him if you want to hold off on that.
Yeah, I'll hold off on that for a little bit, but he's one of the better kids in that 26 class.
Thank you, yeah.
Lincoln Hoke out of North Allegheny.
Okay.
So I heard this kid's name about 2 years ago. I want to say he was a 7th or 8th grader.
Wow.
Somebody just reached out to me and was like, hey, look, there's this kid out of NA. You know, the next kind of big offensive lineman out of NA is coming up. And I put the film on, and it is incredible.
Where's he from?
He is from North Allegheny.
North Allegheny?
Yeah, I have him in. I think he's one of the top 5 offensive linemen in that 26 class. He's doing really big things for him. Putting him next to Jackie Chanko, I mean, that's a very dominant offensive line over there at NA, as they typically are. That's another kid I definitely wanted to give some props to. Who else do we want to look for? There's just a lot of good offensive line play. Fred Woodfork out of Imani Christian.
Yeah, he's good.
No, the kid is actually
He's really good.
baller. He came to the top 150, locked down some of the best defensive linemen in the WPIAL, pass-wise. I actually got an opportunity to watch him play against Steel Valley with him and Mike Christ. Those two were going after it. Mike Christ also looking good, really improving upon his game as the season comes on. You see him run downfield more. You know, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I think he's one of the best pulling offensive linemen in the WPIAL right now amongst all classes. So I just definitely want to give some spotlight out to the offensive linemen, defensive linemen as well. Who else do we have? Courtney Dunn out of McKeesport. That kid is absolutely balling. He had that big strip on the goal line.
A monster. That big stand, yeah.
Oh, man, the kid's balling. Who else? Of course, you know, we all know how I feel about the central offensive line. All 5 of those guys, I think, are doing well. I think that's the best.
Peyton's barely been touched.
Peyton's barely been touched. I mean, what's really cool about offensive line play is, you know, Central is very blessed to have the really good athletes out there at receiver and running back. But when you have a good offensive line, everybody gets shine. You know what I mean? Everybody can do well. Everybody can play at their full potential. So that's kind of the reason that all those guys are
able to shine.
Yeah, Elijah Faulkner, Pete Gonzalez.
Because they're so solid up front.
They're so solid up front. I mean, Pate has 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 20 seconds to throw the ball.
He can run around back there.
He can run around back there, so he's doing really well.
I agree with you.
Defensive line, you guys have heard me speak about again. Westinghouse. Again, they had a big game against Hollidaysburg a couple weeks ago, who have 2 of the best offensive linemen in the state, in my opinion. And they got Nexe Robinson returning. I'm sorry if I butchered your name again.
I think it's Zay. I think it's Zay.
Zay Robinson returning. So, I mean, they're another team to look out for. That defensive line is tremendous no matter what.
We're going to talk about
conference
them
that
at the
you are.
end in the city.
Yeah, so I think there's some guys to look out for. And a bunch more, of course, Jamar Allen, I think a lot of us have known. Congratulations to you as well. He got his first offer a couple weeks ago, I believe it was from Temple.
I think it was.
Jamar Allen's a kid I got to see firsthand just work and the things that he does. Really strong kid, and they call him Snacks, just like the Snacks out of the NFL for a reason. Really good on the pass rush. Kid's also a heck of an offensive lineman. He's another young kid that we'll have the pleasure to see for the next couple of years. Of course, we know Justin Starks out of Aliquippa is doing really
He
good
stepped
things.
up defensively as well. You know what I mean? Because offensively, we knew he was there, but what he's doing defensively on the line, too, he's playing big, man.
I definitely agree with that. At first, I really liked him as a center.
I know you did. We talked about this.
And I seen him play defensively. Again, I think he's one of the kids that, can kind of battle to be who the best is when it's time comes of both ways.
I know it's not a lineman, but have you heard of J.S. Williams? They call him Big Bino up at Aliquippa, 33.
J.S. Williams.
Yeah.
Yes, I have actually.
He is
I know he's
a problem.
returning or
He's a
has come back.
problem.
That kid has the size that you're looking
Yes,
for.
that's
Another big
he can
recruit.
move.
Yeah. I think he's one of the two of the biggest recruitable offensive linemen out of the WPIAL right now. Him and Pierce Cannon out of Woodland Hills.
Okay.
That kid is 6'7", 330
He's
pounds.
throwing things
Moves
around.
well, throwing things around. You know what I mean? Still a little bit raw, kind of coming back to the game.
Yeah.
Had some things going on.
Was
in
it?
the
He's
past.
just coming back, right?
Just coming back. I mean, which is nice for a college team because he doesn't have too many miles on him.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
moldable guy, very coachable guy, high GPA kind of kid. So I'm
You've
excited
been
to see
around him, right?
I've been around him. Awesome personality that you just fall in love with.
And that's what some college coaches, they really want that. They want a kid that's coachable and just has a good personality.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Outside of that, we all make the highlight films.
Yeah.
We'll get into that a little bit, but I think it's important that when you meet a coach, the shaking the hand, the looking them in the face, and just finding something relatable to talk about. Because when they come to meet you, they've already watched your film. They already know about you. That's what they're there to see. They're trying to see, do you fit in the scheme? Are you a gentleman? Are you the type of player that I want to bring into my program?
And who are you as a person?
Absolutely.
That's important.
Another thing I want to get into, as you guys have been sending me the highlights, offensive, defensive linemen, keep them coming. I'm watching them all. I take my time with them, but I do get to you guys. Make sure that we have those physical plays first. That first play is so important.
Oh my goodness,
you got
I tell
about 30
kids.
seconds to get someone's attention. You know what I mean?
If that, Byron.
If that, yeah.
3 plays is what I say.
Yeah. So I think I do due diligence to make sure that I watch you guys' whole films, and if I see things, I kind of
But that's
reach out
not
to the
everybody.
guys. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a college recruiter. I'm kind
That's
of here to just
exactly
spotlight
it.
you guys.
And you don't have those guys. You got to think about it though. They got to go through a ton of film.
Yeah.
They might have their ways. You've played at the college level. You've talked to college coaches. Do they have a way of filtering through that film? Have you talked to any of those
I
guys
think
about that?
the standard that I typically hear is the longest I've heard is about 30 seconds.
Wow.
What
So
can you
I'm
do
on
in
about
first
that?
30
Okay.
seconds? So, one thing you want to shy away from, guys, is you don't want those long introductions. Like, you don't want a 20, 15-second introduction because you're taking yourself away from that 30 seconds.
Just
and
get
I always
into
tell
it.
guys to do the math. If I have to watch 100 films a day, I'm not watching 5 minutes of film. I'm not watching 10 minutes of film. Your first couple plays will tell me
If I should continue to watch too, yeah.
Another thing, offensive, defensive line-wise, is they want to see you play on the other side of the line of scrimmage. If I'm an offensive lineman, if I'm making pancakes, it's on his side of the line of scrimmage. If I'm a defensive lineman making plays, they want to see me push through offensive linemen on their side of the line of scrimmage. So, guys, definitely remember to have those plays. You definitely want the hustle plays up there. Offensive linemen hustling downfield, making blocks on safeties and running with your running backs into the end zone. Defensive linemen hunting down plays from the backside. Again, I speak about Demetrius Baller. He has a play where he's hunting down a screen from the 3 technique. I think that was just so sweet. And he just looks unblockable and unstoppable. Who's another kid? Jasani Rivers out of Seton LaSalle got my attention this year.
He
I think
got
he
my
looks really
attention,
good in that
too.
25 class. I'm really excited, honestly, about the 25 class and what they're kind of turning into. But again, that's just the story of offensive linemen. I mean, you're not going to find too many kids that are going to come in as freshmen or come in as sophomores and play a lot of ball. So definitely want to make sure that you guys get your spotlight. You guys know I'm all about the linemen, so let's keep it up, guys, and kind of finish the season off strong and get those films together and make sure that we get to work this offseason.
And every time Coach Byron's with me, we'll be doing a Coach Byron's 2 cents. He's going to be focusing in on the offensive lineman and the defensive lineman. That's what he's here for. So that's Coach Byron's 2 cents, and that's a wrap on that segment. It's time to get into the PA Today Sports Talk Power Rankings. We're going to start off in 6A. Nothing's changed. We got 5 teams. Central Catholic, they lose to Pine Richland 2 weeks ago, but they're still at the top because they beat North Allegheny, who's in at number 2. Nothing's changed here. Cannon Mac at 3. I still think that if they have a perfect night in the playoffs, they can knock someone off. Do you think Cannon Mac, you know what I mean, if they play a perfect game, they can knock one of those 2 teams off?
Yeah, I think it really depends on who it is that Cannon Mac is playing.
Okay.
I believe that the ranking is exactly, if we rewind, exactly how I called it.
Yeah.
I think it's going to end this
Oh,
way.
yeah.
But again, I think Cannon Mac, their program is coming along still. I still think they're a couple steps behind North Allegheny and Central as far as culture of a program.
Okay.
But they've done so much in a few
Yeah,
years.
in a few
You know what I mean?
years
So
they have. They
we're
caught
talking
up.
about 2 programs that historically have been good. And, you know, people can't find the last time that North Allegheny or Central Catholic were a great football program. You know, and you have Cannon Mac coming in. I mean, they've probably done what they've done the last maybe 5 years, I would say. So, again, I can remember the first time playing him and my last time playing against him. I mean, 2 totally different teams, 2 totally different cultures, 2 totally different, I mean, just the amount of fans that were there from that first time to the last time.
Wow.
So definitely big up to Cannon Mac. And, you know, I do think there's a possibility they can knock someone off. You guys know I may be a little biased, but I don't know if anybody's knocking off the big guys at the top.
We've seen it happen, so we know it's possible now.
Absolutely.
I have Mount Lebanon at 4. They're dealing with a lot of injuries down there right now. Seneca Valley, they've picked up some wins as of late over some 5A programs. They're having a rebuilding year, so they're in at 5. Now we move on to the 5A power rankings. 5A is absolutely wide open in my opinion. Peters Township has kind of shown, you know, at 8-0, this is 5A's ours right now. They're number 1. Penn Hills, they're at number 2. With Julian Duggar, a guy like that, he's like a guy that reminds me, I don't take this the wrong way, he reminds me of a Terrell Pryor who's able to just take over a game. He might not be as physically imposing as Terrell, but he's able to do so much, run around back there, and he's putting dots on guys right now. So I think Julian Duggar in Penn Hills, he can lead them to a championship.
Even in this week's loss, I mean, I don't think that he played a terrible game. I still
neither.
think that he showed us that he was still an elite quarterback. I'm a big fan of the 5A. I think that's one of the more competitive ones that are a higher level of competition and the more competitive conferences or classifications out there. I'm excited to see Peters Township, I don't mean to say disrespectfully, just play a better opponent.
Play a better,
You know what I mean? So I think that, you know, when we see them in the playoffs, of course, I think 5A gets really exciting.
It gets really exciting.
Of course
And you see I got Pine-Richland. I want to ask you, do you agree with me having them in there at 3 after taking out Central Catholic? They're 5-3. You know, do you agree with that or you disagree? I want your honest opinion.
What I can say is I definitely can argue Pine-Richland at 2 with that. You
Oh,
know,
really?
The way that Penn Hills lost to Central, Pine-Richland beating Central, but Penn Hills then beat Pine-Richland.
It's so tough,
So
I know,
it is tough.
right?
Again, I respect the position that you have them in, but if somebody had Pine-Richland at 2 and Penn Hills
You
at
wouldn't
3,
disagree?
I wouldn't disagree with that at all.
Let me ask you, Woodland Hills at 4 and Gateway at 5. You see that there, or would you have it flip-flopped?
No, I would keep that just the way it is. I think Woodland Hills is playing really good ball. Coach Tarrant is doing a really good job over there. The offense is rolling.
I think they all bought in. I think, you know, as a new coach, knew everything. It took like a week or 2. I think they're all bought in now. They look a lot better.
And I think that team will only grow.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
You see a
They're
lot
young.
of guys playing good ball. I mean, there's countless names over there. You got Scoop, you got Cam, you got my guy Pierce Cannon. You have Ziggy over there doing big things offensively and defensively. B. Jones is over there balling.
Andre Smith.
Their line on
George
both sides
Hill,
is
he's the
huge.
quarterback of that defense.
Nazir Neal's out
Man,
there doing big things.
yep.
Yeah, George Hill, I mean, that guy can move. We got a chance to see him.
Oh,
on
man,
Sunday.
he cracks
I love
things,
the way
man.
that he is athletically. Mijan Rose, again, another big defensive lineman in the WPIAL who's doing great for that team. So,
And Prince Tarrant, B's son, man.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't give credit where it's not due, but Prince Tarrant deserves credit. I think he's one of those upper echelon DBs in that class. Every time I see him, you know, I mean, he was playing against Central, going up against Sassick. Great technique, getting in and out of the breaks, made a great play, you know what I mean, to pick off. I think Peyton Waiter's only interception, or 2 on the year. So I think Prince Tarrant's a guy for them that's really improved over the summer as well.
And again, and that's why I think the WPIAL, you know, the 5A classification is the most exciting, you know, especially when it comes to the playoffs, because you never know who's going to win, especially in the playoff time. All these teams have kind of beaten each other in one way or another, or got one over each other.
on someone else. Yeah, I get what you're saying by
The 5A
that.
classification is the one I'm most excited to see.
Okay, so we move on to 4A. Aliquippa, they're 7-0. This is, you know, Aliquippa the last 3 years, this has been their thing. So they're 7-0, they're at number 1. I have Montour at number 2 just because of how they battled Aliquippa and how they've run through everybody else. I know a lot of the papers have McKee sported 2. That was a tough one for me. What would you do there? 2 or 3?
I definitely can respect the Montour at number 2. I think they're playing really good ball. They had a big win against CV last. This
that's
past
what
Friday.
did it for me.
Of course, they had some really big wins. The team that I don't think I spoke enough about before the season started was McKeesport.
McKeesport. I feel like I will say that on there. I don't think I spoke enough about them.
Them up front, man. I mean, they look really good
Nasty.
up front. Between Courtney Dunn, between Jaivin Keys, they got Spill out there as well.
They have 3 guys that can run the ball in that tight bunched wing T offense, the way they run it, the triple option.
I mean, moved up a classification, had a big win against Gateway on Friday.
Yeah.
So
That
I
was a
definitely can see
big win.
McKeesport. I understand the argument of Montour and McKeesport at number 2. So I mean that's a big team that kind of has surprised me. I was actually at the McKeesport Central scrimmage. Again, I think that Central, the fast pace of that offense, kind of got to McKeesport. No one else really does that, but that's always a big deal scrimmage up there for both teams, and they handle themselves really well. And from there, I think they've moved on and been terrific.
Absolutely. And at 4, I know it sounds kind of crazy, but Thomas Jefferson is 7-1. They lost to Trinity, and Trinity put up, that wasn't really a game. So they got 2 quarterbacks, and Brody Evans and Luke Costco. You want to speak about Thomas Jefferson? I know they're out there far ways, but have you seen any of them yet?
I got a chance to see the way they play a little bit. They've always historically been
Always under Coach Turpin.
So I mean, there's again, the 4A is also full of those teams that have historically good programs. McKeesport's historically good. We all know about Aliquippa. Central Valley, even of course, the next team that you're going to speak about. So I mean, Thomas Jefferson definitely has a good competition ahead of him. Another classification I think is really exciting to watch.
4A is going to be fun. And Central Valley, like you said, they're in at 5. They have 2 losses, but they were 2 tough losses. Avonworth, who's undefeated in 3A, and then Montour, who's playing really good ball right now. So as we move into 3A, 3A is one of them classes that I thought it was wide open other than Bell Vernon. I've seen Bell Vernon at the top, and I still do see them at the top, but I have Avonworth at number 1 just because they're 8-0, and I feel like, they've earned that spot. Bell Vernon at number 2, 6-1. You want to speak on Bell Vernon? We know about them. We know about the Quentin Martins, but do you want to speak up front like Dan Levi?
Yeah, Dan Levi, one of my favorite linemen in the WPIAL.
Dane, excuse me.
Danny.
Is it Dan?
Danny Levi,
Danny?
one of my favorite linemen in the WPIAL. Love the way the guy pulls. Love the way that he's gritty. Of course, we have the stud and Quentin Martin out there playing good football.
Braden Locks.
The thing with them is I think Quentin Martin is one of those kids who, when the playoffs come, I think he kind of just changes pace in the way that he plays.
He reminds me of Jordan Whitehead, because Jordan Whitehead used to do that too. He would turn it up in the playoffs, man.
So, I mean, I think he's playing really good ball now. I think that when the playoffs come, it's going to be something really special for us to watch. So, Bell Vernon's a team that you really can never take out of it. That's going to be my prediction. I'll give it to you guys early. I think my prediction is going to be Bell Vernon for the 3A championship.
Okay, and I know this one's you're going to love. Number 3, Elizabeth Forward, a guy like Charlie Meeham, and then Chris Climbs up front. How hard is it to run the ball, but then not only run the ball, but pass the ball against those 2?
Chris Climbs is playing nose guard in a way that we don't really see
a lot. Yeah, you're right about that.
What's he at, 15+ sacks for the nose guard
It's 15.
position? At any level of football,
I don't
please,
care.
Somebody give it to me. Who's the last nose guard to get 15 sacks?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that position is that's really that's one of the most selfless positions.
Run stopping positions.
Because you're just there to run stop. You're there to open up gaps for you're there to hold on to linemen for your linebackers. But he doesn't even let the guys get to the linebacker. Linebackers are kind of just got a front row seat to watch him dominate.
He's unbelievable, man.
He really
is.
Really fast kid, really athletic. I don't know if you guys seen the video of him. Was he run the 100 last year? Oh my God! I mean, the kid's about 280 pounds. The kid's strong as an ox. He got his Youngstown offer, so congratulations to him for that. So that's another kid that we definitely want to keep our eye on, not only this year but next year as well. He has another year to come in the WPIAL and dominate. He's doing really big things.
Have you seen Charlie? He's committed
Charlie
to Meadlip. That's
yes,
it. He's committed to Bucknell.
Yes.
Have you seen him?
I think he's another big piece of that offense and defense. Defensively, I think is kind of where his role is at the next level. Offensively, though, at tackle, he looks awesome. I mean, he looks awesome. I love the way he's outside zone steps, gets on to the next level. He's very violent, very physical kid. Elizabeth Ford has a really good team out there right now.
Yeah, and Ryan Messina, I'm not forgetting about you at quarterback. You're being an absolute field general, so shout out to you. I have Knock in at 4 at 7-1. They surprised a lot of people. East Allegheny, they knocked off Deer Lakes, so they're going to be in at number 5 this week. As we move down into the 2A, Wash High, they're at 8-0. You know, I mean, they got their quarterback, like Dee Brown said, they got their quarterback back, and that's big.
It's a good quarterback too.
He's a really good quarterback. Wash High is on top of 2A right now, but Steel Valley is starting to creep back into this because, you know, they lost a seat in LaSalle. It was one of those emotional losses. Duran's going to be coming back this week. I personally think Wash High and Steel Valley are at the top right now, but not too far below them is Neshannock, Mohawk, and Amani. Those teams are creeping, they're reaching. Neshannock finally got both Neshannock and Mohawk. Every year they can't get over Beaver Falls. It's a tough team that they could never get over. They both got over that hump. So I see those two teams, you know, I honestly see this top 5. In 2A, any of these guys, so Washington at 1, Steel Valley at 2, Neshannock at 3, Mohawk at 4, and Amani at 5. Any of those teams can win this.
No, absolutely. I think the big thing for Steel Valley right now is getting Day back.
Getting healthy.
That's going to be huge. I mean, he's one of the best athletes in the whole entire state. I'm
Yeah.
going to say the WPIAL state.
No,
maybe
state.
even, we can argue the East Coast. So when you get a player like that back, I think that's a really big deal. I think their offensive line, defensive line is rolling right now, doing big things. Neshannock, I think, has surprised a lot of people. They got that guy Ponziani.
Yeah, Michael Ponziani.
Michael Ponziani.
And
doing big
Anthony
things for their
Eakin, he's
offensive
running
line.
like a 4.5, man. So he's broke out at running
Yeah.
back for him. He's a 2026 guy. And when he sees green, so I want to say it, you always say it. The running backs, they got to give credit to their line. The green that the Neshannock line is showing those running backs right now
huge.
is huge. But Anthony Eakin at the same time, he's hitting those holes hard, so you got to give credit to both. But that Neshannock line, they're together, Aiden Schaefer, Jackson Mazzacchio, and Michael Ponziani. They've been playing together since young guys.
Yeah, and I think
So
that's a big deal that
it's a
people
big
overlook.
push.
I think that's a big deal that people overlook. I think when you look at the higher levels, and I think we see the statistic more in the NFL, you know, the teams that aren't doing so good in the NFL are typically the teams that have different lines play.
Yeah,
I see
yeah.
like the Giants have had this is like the 6th different offensive line combination they've had all season.
Yeah.
It's hard to be a good football team. And I think that's a big thing that's really cool about high school football, especially in the programs where you have kids that have been playing together for so long. I
They
was
know
very
each other.
blessed to have a really good left guard play next to me. I played 48 games next to my left guard at the college level. He did big things for me and had a lot to do with my success. So, you know, when you have kids that have played, you know, years and years of football next to each other, you kind of know how they step, you kind of know how they work. You have your own signals outside of the ones that Coach taught you.
Yeah,
You know
that's
what I mean?
awesome.
Me and my guy did. So I think that's a big deal for Neshannock, and that's kind of where a lot of their success is coming from. The one you cannot count out Amani, though. You cannot count out Amani. David Davis coming back soon is going to be a big deal for them. They have that other kid who's doing really well. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name right now.
They got
He
a
just
couple.
He's just started getting a couple offers.
Oh, Gabriel Jenkins.
Gabriel Jenkins.
He's a
is looking
freshman.
Really good freshman player. Another freshman that we get to watch.
So
for the next couple
we
years.
thought he was going to be just defensive back. He offensively is
Yeah,
tearing
yeah.
it up too.
And I think at that level, at that 2A level, you know,
You can do
not,
that.
not too many teams, you know, are blessed with enough players to only have one-way guys. You know what I mean? So he kind of have to play both ways. And if you're in 2A getting offers as a freshman, you're definitely probably playing both ways
Yeah.
in some sort. So, I mean, they have 3 studs out there, and Burnett, David Davis, and him.
3 Power 5s
3
now.
Power 5s now. David Davis, congratulations on Tennessee. You know, now you're
That's
in
a
the SEC
big one.
rankings.
Evolve.
That's a big deal. So, I
The
mean,
Vols don't
Amani's
offer
another
anybody.
big shout out to Evolve. You know what I mean? Another player out there. Amani's another team you just can't ever count out. And again, Coach Franchise is a great offensive mind. So
Yeah.
we'll see what he does.
And I'm going to speak on a team like Mohawk because I'm from the Lawrence County area, so I know that team a little bit better than you would. And you know Monty a little bit better than I would. So with Mohawk, they have a guy in Jay Rona, and we actually just had Jaivin Peel on the show. They're going to be going up against each other. They're 2 of the top passers in the WPIAL. Jay Rona and Bobby Fadden, they're cousins. Bobby Fadden's a sophomore, Jay Rona's a senior. We talked about this early in the preseason show, and I kind of called it. They had a big season last year. They are absolutely tearing it up. Jay Rona's throwing over 1,000 yards. I don't know exactly what it is. Bobby Fadden's tearing it up. They also got a guy, Dante Retort. Mohawk's a team that's huge up front. They look like they average 280, and in 2A, that's big.
Big,
You know
absolutely.
what I mean? That's big. So we're going to move down to 1A, and now 1A is a no joke this year. You know what I mean? A lot of people clown on 1A, like playing 1A ball. It's no joke this year. I mean, Fort Cherry, they have Matt Sig, 8-0. And it's just not him. They have Shane Cornelli, Ethan Fileto. They have some guys over there that are also playmakers for them. So when they, you know, try to, it's pretty hard to spy Matt because they've been trying to do it.
Yeah.
You know, they're trying to put a guy on him, but it's kind of hard to do that with a quarterback, especially. But at number 2, I have Southside. They're the 8-0 team as well, led by Brody Almash. He's now 3-year starter. Ryan Navarre in the backfield. AC Corfield's come on. His film, he's playing in single A, but he's a bull. You'd love him. And I know he's a bit undersized. He's about 200 pounds, but he just rips through guys. He's one of those guys that's an effort player. I want to show you.
My favorite.
And then Bishop Canavan. They take the loss to Fort Cherry, and I think it was honestly just Matt Sieg just had one of those incredible nights. They're at number 3. You want to speak on Bishop Canavan and, you know, what they got to do to make that deep playoff run and get back into the WPIAL?
Yeah, I think they try to continue to do what they're doing. I think they just ran into a generational football player in Matt Sieg.
I agree.
Now the challenge for Fort Cherry is, you know, if you get into that position again, can you beat them twice?
There you
That's
go.
one of the hardest things to do in all football is to beat the same team twice.
Yep.
Bishop Canavan has a heck of a front on both sides of the ball, and I expect really big things from them. Henry Barbarish is playing really good football.
He is.
We can't forget about Davion Taylor doing destructible things right now. I know he's on pace to break the all-time PIAA sack record.
That'll be done.
Possibly this year, you know, next year by
That'll
the
be
latest. So I mean that's a very special team. Jason Cross over there just buying in a little more. You know,
Ajon Marshall
him
too,
not being at the quarterback position, I think does more for Bishop
it
Canavan.
helps.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it does more for Bishop Canavan to get him out there to be athletic on the offensive and defense side of the ball right now.
Yeah. And I got Union at number 4. I mean, the defending runner-ups in PIAA 1A, WPIAL champions, with a guy like Braylon Thomas, Mike Gunn. We know Jamel Mitchell, you had him on the list.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the biggest disruptors in 1A.
Absolutely.
He's playing on a bum knee. Clareton, in at number 5. Now, we saw them out at 7v7. We talked a little bit about them. They were another team. They'll play 6 times. They don't care.
They will.
They beat that Rochester team I was talking
Big
about.
win for them.
Rochester's gritty, tough. They got Tone, Laurie. He's just a really good running back. They were able to contain him enough to get the win. So I got Clareton in at number 5. You want to speak about that Clareton team under Coach Wade?
Yeah, I mean, I think Coach Wade does a terrific job just coaching in general. Clareton is one of those places that have this culturally big football program, big football team. I love the way that 6'5" plays. Really big receiver. Fast as well. Physical
Xavier
out there.
Corell.
Yeah. I'm the quarterback as well. Really
Mike
good.
Wright Jr.,
Yeah,
yeah.
Mike Wright Jr. I'm a big fan of his as well.
You know why I said he's a first-year starter, too, because he had to wait his turn. But he said, I feel like that helped me.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing we don't. You know, that's hard. You know, we all make our rankings and see who we like the most.
Who's playing now.
But we're really talking about who's playing now, who we've seen film from. There's a lot of kids right now who are kind of just waiting for their next turn
love
out.
you said
know what I mean? Like, for example, you know, Matt Sieg's only a freshman, but his senior year, there's going to be a guy behind him kind of hoping to do the same thing who just may not be that generational player like him.
So
I
would
think
you
behind
agree
everybody-
with this, Byron? I almost say to coaches, because a lot of coaches, they're like, why is it so hard to get colleges in here? Why is it the same schools? Would you agree with me, once one guy breaks through and goes Power 5, kind of helps the rest of the guys under him, if there's a guy that has that talent, you know, for those Power 5s that are around?
I think that's all dependent. I was very fortunate to sit with Terry Totten at Central Catholic and kind of see how he does recruiting.
Yeah.
I think recruiting also, it's a lot of work from the coach as well.
Okay.
And not only making those relationships, but keeping those relationships. One thing that I thought was so special about Terry was coaches would come in and he would remember their names. Sometimes he'd remember their number at heart. I'm like, that's not even a joke. Like, he would remember their number off the top of their head. It would blow my mind.
I didn't even
and
assume
then where they
it.
were from also.
That's
you know what I mean? So there would be coaches coming. Like, I can remember when Coach Marion came in from Howard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He came in and got his next job and congratulating him for going in there. So, like, I think on the coach's part, you really have to find a way to build a relationship with coaches and be honest also and make their job easier. I think the coolest thing for me that I witnessed Terry do was, if a kid had a good game against us, that's who he's talking about when that coach comes in. Like, I can remember DeQuan Hardy balling out against us, and Penn State coming in and him telling him, like, hey, look, this kid can play. Akron coming in, like, hey, have you seen that kid from Fort Hills? So I think as a coach, you know, when recruits come in, make their lives easier, then they want to come back.
Yeah.
So even, and be honest with them. I mean, there's been years where I've been there, and Terry's, you know, a big-time school comes in, he's like, listen, to be honest with you, I don't know if we have anybody who can play at your level, but we have played this kid, we have played that kid. So that at least makes it so that person is always going to come back to your school because
they trust what you're saying.
Yeah,
you're not just trying to. Yeah, I get that.
In high school level, you don't get to pick the players that come through your program.
Nope.
You know what I mean, again, you get those generational players.
And that's
every
kind of
once in a
what like Jon was saying. He's like, how can you not like evolve and not in high school? You don't get to pick your players.
You don't. Yeah,
you don't. You got to go with what you got.
You got to go with what you got, and when you get those generational players, I do believe that helps other kids on your team shine.
Yeah.
I've heard college coaches talk
That's why
about,
I asked it.
talk about watching one kid's film and seeing another kid that was very impressive as well, and then going in to find that kid. So I definitely think that having the players help. But, that's kind of the hard part for coaches is you have to wear so many hats. And I think, if you're a program and you have kids who can play at the next level or coming through, even if it's not at the highest level, how do you make the recruiter's job easy so he wants to come back to your school?
Yeah.
Like, hey, listen, I know this team is 0 and whatever, but that's my dog down there at this school. I know he's going to tell me where all the dogs are at. It's going to make my stops easy. It's going to help me out and stuff like that. So I think it all kind of depends on just building those relationships with the recruiters when they come into your program.
Okay. And so I told you why I started this. It was to shine more light on 1A in the City League. So I always end the show with City Talk. So here's how we're going to do this. Josiah Collins was a guy you were big on. He picks up an offer from Temple on October 12th via his Twitter. Just want to congratulate him. Can you elaborate a little bit on Collins? That's why I stopped you earlier. I wanted you to elaborate at this point.
Yeah, I think this is just the beginning for Josiah Collins. He's one of those special players, and this is coming out of Aaron Donald's mouth himself. He said those are some of the best hands he's seen out of a player his age. Pass rush-wise, he could do it with the best of them. Understands the game really well, understands angles really well, hunts down. On the run, he's a big body kid. He's not hard, he's not easy to block. Has the long arms that you're looking for, has the frame that you're looking for. And again, he's still young. He's only a sophomore year coming in now.
2026.
So, really big kid. I think he's one of those premier kids in the WPIAL that will have the opportunity to watch for the next couple of years.
Okay.
And he also plays on the best defensive line in the WPIAL.
Well, that's where we're going with it. We touched on it. Just talk about that defensive line one more time.
Yeah, you have
Westinghouse.
Collins, you have Michael Richardson, you have Sincere Shang, you have Yexay Robinson, and more. Those guys can rush the passer really well. Those guys all play defensive line with really good technique.
They all had 10 plus sacks last year. I said, what?
How do you have 4? And this is a team that they have like 6 guys who have sacks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, they can rotate really well. One thing I'm loving seeing out of Sincere Shannon is seeing him get more involved in the offense.
Yeah.
I think when you talk about winning a state championship, and if you're really one of those Division I defensive linemen, you play offense really well. You can do things you could do things at the tackle position that other players may not be able to do. And I think that translates better for a high school player, defensively moving him to the offensive line to help your team. Then sometimes it does offensively moving to defensively. I think, when you get the big kid, you can put him in at nose guard or 3 technique, kind of plug some holes up. But I think when you get a defensive end with the size like him and 3 techniques who can move like him, you can kind of place them on the offensive line and they can do wonders for the run game.
And like I said, I thought it was a big win for USO over Alderdice, but you said holding boy USO to 8 points is almost a win in itself.
You have to commend Alderdice for that. You have to commend Alderdice for that. And very excited for USO again. To me, of course they were the 7-on-7 champions. If I had to pick a team week 1 who was going to win 7-on-7, it wasn't USO.
It wasn't USO.
But they came out that championship week, man, and they were going absolutely bananas.
And those boys told me that built our confidence headed into the year. And it will.
Yeah.
It'll do that. And last thing I got for you. So this 7v7 league we're talking about, it's the 210 7v7 league. It starts up in May. So for the city kids, there was a lot of city kids balling out. You want to speak on how big that is just for eyes to get on those kids and playing in that league?
Yeah, I think it's really big. I think the really cool part is a big part of our 7-on-7 league is during the recruiting period.
Yeah.
So we have schools that come down.
Oh, there's
we have the Cal U's, the Penn States.
They're all over.
Robert Morris's
IUPs were there,
the Duquesnes. There are schools down there to help get those kids a little more spotlight. But also what I think it does for them is it gives them the opportunity to run their plays and be out there and be athletic. I know a lot of people have things to say about 7-on-7, but this is what I'm going to say from a strength coach perspective. Find another way to get your guys to run as fast as they possibly can, as many times as you can in 7-on-7. And if you find that way, please let me know. I've been in the strength coach sector and understand how hard it is to get your guys to run max speed. But if you throw a ball out there, you throw some rules out there and some referees, they're going to do it a lot easier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to create some type of competitive atmosphere. Yeah. So even from a speed development aspect, how else are you getting your kids to run full speed? They're in game situations. You get to run your offense. You get to see what your quarterback's all about. Even the way we kind of make the coaches stand, you know what I mean? You get to kind of call plays in, and some coaches take full advantage of it.
You don't have 4 coaches in the huddle.
Yeah, you're not allowed to do that. So, I think it's really big for the development of schools, of teams. For the guys who aren't playing a bunch of sports, The fun part about 7-on-7 is kind of when the track season ends.
Yeah,
those good athletes
and the
start coming
fast
in, you know what I
athletes
mean?
come in. You always know it picks up. The speed picks up, like
the
when
speed
Scoop
picks
came
up.
around.
And I think it just gives kids the opportunity to kind of be known a little earlier.
Yeah.
Again, 7-on-7 is a drill, very important drill to the game of football, so it's not everything. But I think it's a big part of football. I think it's really cool. And this is coming from an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
I told D. Brown before the year started, I remember asking him the rules. I said, my only experience with 7-on-7 is standing on the sideline asking them when they're done. You know what I mean? As an offensive lineman. So I think the 7-on-7 league is really big for a bunch of players. We've improved. They went from 12 teams to 22 last year.
Yeah.
And we're looking to get to 40 plus. We have a couple different locations coming in this year, so we get different sides of Pittsburgh. So I mean, I'm definitely, as excited as I am for the season. It's one of those things where we really do want football all year long.
Yeah.
7-on-7 is our opportunity to be able to get some form of it. You know what I mean? So I'm excited for the season to be there, but that kind of gives us a nice little treat in the offseason.
And Byron, because he gave us some great insight on some teams I didn't know, and offensive linemen and defensive linemen. So really want to thank you for being out here today.
Hey,
I know your
thank you for
Eagles are
having me, brother.
playing,
I
so it's a
appreciate
big one.
Yeah.
My name's Jon Magusiak. This is Byron Dovales. And this is PA Today Sports Talk. Ball game.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Byron.